It's another wunderbar Wednesday, as the Germans will say, wonderful Wednesday. Here we are, and God has been gracious to us. He's given us life. We're here. We're strong. No matter what the circumstances, just remember, life is paramount, and once you have it, you must make the most of it. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. This is the AM Show. Thank you for joining us this morning. Now, coming up shortly, the news, all the tidbits in Ghana and beyond, if possible. And right after that, we'll be joined by Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante for the news review. He is a political scientist and director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Followed by sports, courtesy Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. And then we get into our big stories. Now, the main issue we are contemplating today on the chopping board. The minority in Parliament has vowed to oppose the 2024 budget if adequate commitments are not made in respect of the General Hospital's demolition before the 2024 elections. We'll be taking a look at that, among other things that the minority is looking forward to as far as the budget. But then again, what does the election of Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, the Vice President, as flag bearer of the governing New Patriotic Party, indicate for the opposition National Democratic Congress? What is their reading of his selection? Well, our guest, Kofi Adams, is Member of Parliament for Buim. As I would like to reiterate, whenever you see conversations like this without the other side represented, it's because we made an attempt, we tried everything possible, and they wouldn't want to be a part of it. We cannot force anybody on that. And that's the first belt of the conversation. But also coming up, we'll hear from the Ministry of Education and the NEIP. Now, these two institutions are coming up with what they call STEM Novation 2023. The year's biggest science event at the City Conference Center, University of Ghana, on November 14th and 15th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We'll bring you details of that later on the show. And then again, we'll tell you about the first National Bank Accra Marathon. Have you ever run one of those? Well, you should contemplate it. It's the nation's only premium full marathon. We'll bring you the scoop on all of that. And at the tail end of the show, in fact, in the course of the show, share your thoughts with us via social media, the stream. Let's know what your thoughts are, but season them. No profane language. And of course, speak through the issues, not like Sandra Banafo. Don't come with issues that are merely, taking a certain slant. And of course, at the tail end, we'll activate the phone lines and you'll be sure to have your say. On that note, let's settle for the news up next. Thank you for staying for the news. In our very first story, renal patients are excited about the reopening of the renal unit at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. A statement released by the management of the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital on Tuesday stated that the unit was now open for use. 19 persons have died because they were unable to afford the expensive charges at other private facilities. Kofi Addo interacted with some patients who came to this unit for lab tests ahead of dialysis within the week.
After several months of closure, renal outpatients can now heave a sigh of relief following the reopening of the facility. The patients who sought dialysis services in other private facilities at a higher cost are now returning to the renal unit of the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, where they can get the service at a lower cost. They say the latest development is welcoming. Rabiu Nyande is a renal patient who has been receiving dialysis from a private facility following the closure. He says the call to come for a laboratory test ahead of a dialysis at Korle Bu is timely and life-saving.
I was called yesterday that I should come for a few labs so that they'll start. When they call me, then they can then put me on the machine. That is what I'm made to understand. Okay. Yes, I just came to do it.
Enoch Bracco is a young man with a renal condition. Following the news of the reopening, he traveled from Kibi in the eastern region to Korle Bu for his lab test to undergo dialysis, which he had missed many sessions due to the expensive prices in other facilities.
Okay, actually, yesterday I heard that they are doing the lab test, so I should come and do my yours for today. So probably I was here before because of the lab test. That I'm done it. And I'm waiting for 3 hours to get it. Yeah, I done it. So I supposed to take the result to the nurses so that if they check there is no problem on it, so they will let me do the dialysis. I'll start it on tomorrow. So I'll go back and find money to come for dialysis for tomorrow. If they call me, probably if they call me tomorrow, I'll definitely get the money to come on tomorrow to do the dialysis.
Kojo Bafo Ahinkra, the president of the Renal Patients Association, says to sustain the services of the unit, he's appealing to government to urgently pay off the 4 million cedi debt, else the unit may be forced to shut down again within a matter of weeks.
We will still plead with the government because, my brother, let me be honest with you and frank with you. If that 4 million issue is not settled, within a week or two, this unit will be closed down again. We will not have consumables because we are number about 250 a week. And if one person dialyzes, they have to throw the dialyzer and the lines away once they finish. So we consume a lot of the consumables. So if the government does not see to that 4 million issue with the Physinos, the company, I will tell you within a week or two, the unit will close down again. It will be short of consumables again. We plead with them. If they've really open, then they should see to that thing so that the people can bring more of the consumables in.
Patients are now happy that the renal unit has been opened, but they are pleading with the government not to delay payment of the 4 million debt.
Now, inadequate furniture at the Ewisa Municipal Assembly MA Basic School in the Winchi municipality of the Bono region is affecting the quality of education. Pupils of the school have no choice but to sit on the bare floor for academic work. They want government to remedy the situation. Bono regional correspondent Nesta Kofi-Addo has more in this report.
Ewisa MA Basic School has a population of over 500 pupils, but only 70 dual desks are available. Due to the inadequacy of furniture in the school, most of the pupils sometimes sit on mats during lesson hours. This has made academic work less effective. However, Christ Apostolic Child Development Center, a local non-profit organization in Ewisa with support from Compassion International, has provided 200 pieces of school furniture for the school. Headmaster of the school, Benjamin Nketia, and a pupil, Ophelia Amenyo, share their experiences.
When the furniture was not there, some of the students sit on the floor and write their notes. So now we get the furniture. I would thank Compassion of Ghana for bringing us this furniture. It will help us to study and learn more.
Before the arrival of these chairs, a school with a population of around 520 were using only 70 desks, and it was hindering teaching and learning. But with these chairs that we are going to get, I believe and hope that it's going to help the pupils sit comfortably within their classrooms, and as such, learning is going to take place. We thank the donors very much for what they've done for us.
The project director of Christ Apostolic Child Development Center, Collins Ejepon, said they are committed to enhancing quality education in the Winchi municipality.
We have built a 10-seater WC toilet in the year 2021 for the Ewisa Methodist Primary School at a cost of 87,700 Ghana cedis, with withholding tax inclusive. We have built a hand washing facility for the same school. We have drilled a mechanized borehole at a cost of 82,000 Ghana cedis, inclusive of withholding tax, to help reduce the challenges the community has with water. We did so in the year 2023. We extended the water to the Methodist school to provide safe drinking water for the pupils in the school and promote hygiene. Today, we are donating 200 sets of dual monodesk hygiene tables and chairs, teachers' tables and chairs, worth 48,800 Ghana cedis, with tax inclusive, to the government schools as part of our efforts to enhance the academic well-being of the children in the community.
The Wenchi Municipal Public Relations Officer for the Ghana Education Service, David Bafo, appealed to other organizations to help augment the furniture deficit in the municipality.
One of the challenges we face as a directorate is inadequate furniture. Today that they have been able to donate 280 furniture, comprising that of KG, teachers' tables and chairs, the directorate, we have had a respite. Because when we go to Awisa, where they are donating the furniture, as said by one of the head teachers, 70 dual desks, serving about 300 people, was a challenge. And we were praying that someday we'll get a help. And today, this is the day the Lord has made. We are so much grateful. And we believe that this will come to mitigate the challenge we're facing. We want to use this opportunity to thank Compassion Ghana and also extend our tentacles to other philanthropists to come to our aid by providing furniture and other infrastructure to boost teaching and learning in the municipality.
Nesta Kofi Addo reporting.
In our next story, the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission and the Commission for Technical and Vocational Education and Training are co-leading a national capacity development training and have certified over 30 craftsmen in different fields of employment under the classification of skilled trades. This training will equip persons in the informal sector with qualification certificates for their skills based on defined learning outcomes. Participants from 18 African countries benefited from this year's training, supported by the African Union with funding from the European Union.
It's part of the capacity development activities towards the design, development and implementation of Ghana's national qualification framework and related policies such as recognition of prior learning. Speaking at the training session, the Acting Director General of GTEC, Professor Ahmed Jinapo, says some persons are highly skilled. He added that the certification for capacity development will give them same leverage as people who have various formal education credentials.
The whole agenda is to get a qualification framework for the African continent. And by qualification framework, it's a manifestation of getting a platform or a structure where individuals who have skills but have not attained more or less some formal kind of education, but their skills are being put in a manner that they are accessible. Accessible in the sense that I use the example of, in our parlance, a fitter. A mechanic, so to speak. The person is very good, he knows how to fix a car. In fact, he's able to fix a car better than a BSc engineer from KNUST. But this person doesn't have any qualification to point to the skills that he has. So GTech, collaboration with CTVET, is looking at how we can have a framework where we can assess such individuals. And those assessments should be in a manner that we can quantify, measure, and relate those skills across board. You don't need to ask a mason, can you build this? You say, yes, I can do it because I did it here. No, the paper that you hold should be able to speak to whom you are and the qualification that you possess.
Theophilus Tete Zobla, who is the Deputy Director of Standards and Curriculum Development at the Commission for Technical and Vocational Education and Training, explained that the qualification framework certificates can be used by participants for employment or further studies.
Well, so if 18 countries are participating in this workshop, like you rightly said, the issue of qualifications framework is now a global kind of thing. And the need to recognize their certification is very important. So because some use their certifications for further education, some also use it for work. So if you don't come together within the region to understand our qualifications framework and how aligned they are, it will be difficult for us to give jobs to people when they travel into other countries. You know, people are migrating, and the issues of job is important.
Participants from other countries have been sharing their experiences from the training.
So the training is absolutely very relevant. I must say we are learning a lot. We are learning about key things to do with micro-credentials. What happens if somebody, for example, has had half qualification or has obtained some particular kind of skill? How do you recognize that particular skill? How do you turn it into a qualification, and how can that person use it for, you know, seeking employment, and how can it be recognized in terms of its credentials also for this?
Semefa Rejoice, Basis Report, read to you.
Now, renowned business management consultant and Chief Executive Officer of Ishmael Yamson and Associates, Dr. Ishmael Yamson, has stated that Ghana is bankrupt, has been left bankrupt when the tenure of almost every leader expires. According to him, corruption in Ghana has reached the crescendo and is growing by the day. He was speaking on PM Express.
Every leader in this country, by the time he leaves office, Ghana is bankrupt. And because the leader has been very corrupt. And I'm not afraid to talk about this because it's the reality. And unless we accept as a people that helping people to buy our votes is not the way to change Ghana, it will not change this country. This country, for as long as we have leaders who have come into office indebted to people and they have to pay them back, Evans, I'm sorry. But I'm painting too bleak a picture.
No, we'll come to the positives.
Reality.
We'll come to the positives because I know you have thoughts on what the leader should be. Yeah. And that is where the inspiration is. But let's count backwards. At least you've given us a sense that it's possible to have the leaders.
Yes.
You mentioned Nkrumah, you mentioned Mills. Let's count backwards. What about this current leader, Nana Akufo-Addo? How has he fared?
No, but
marking him with the same scheme.
Oh, if I mark him with the same scheme, it probably will be 4 out of 10.
That's a fail.
Oh yes, because you see, even if you yourself as an individual, you have not dipped your hands into the state coffers, what about all your leaders, your followers, and what have you done about them, right? My greatest disappointment was recently we had a case about a minister who had so much money in her home.
Sanitation minister.
Yes. And the president said that he hoped her integrity would be proven in the end. Why would the president even get involved in this when there are state agencies which are handling the matter? You understand? Because if you, our leader, you say you trust the person, and then you expect the people following you to go and say the person cannot be trusted. It's not possible. So I don't think that he has been able to stamp down corruption in this country. He hasn't. Because if he has, then all the scandals that come up day after day after day after day, why hasn't he taken firm action to deal with all those things and stop them? Why isn't any of his people who have been found culpable not in jail?
Well, that's how we cap off the news. But stay with us. Up next to the news review, and we're hosting Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. Welcome back on the AM show. It's time now for the news review, and we'll be joined shortly by Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. But before I bring him in, always as I do, I'll let you know this segment is sponsored. It's brought to you courtesy of Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. And what are they offering you? Well, healing, so to speak, the end to your chronic disease. But they're also offering, if you're a man, prostate screening. And this month of November, in some parts of the world, is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. So how about you check your prostate? Some would say if you're 40 years. I would say, based on the statistics, if you're 35 and above, start checking your prostate. Have you checked it in the last few years? You ought to, and they're granting you this for free at Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. If you're a woman, you don't know the status of your fertility. Maybe you've tried to have children, it's not working. Or maybe you don't know what's going on there. There could be development of fibroids and myriad other issues. Well, you can also go to Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic and they'll get you screened for free. Now, here's where you can locate them. Here in Accra, they're at Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard. Kumasi, Kronoma here, behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Anaji Estate, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Esiama Nzema. If you'd like to call them, and I highly recommend that you do, the numbers are 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Well, that leads us to the start of the news review. I'm joined by political scientist, director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. Good morning, sir. Hello, Doc.
Yeah, good morning, Ben.
Good morning.
Can you
thanks
hear
for
me?
joining.
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Good morning to see you too.
All right.
I hope you are well.
By God's grace, I am. I hope you are too.
Very well.
Great. So we have quite a lot to talk about. I mean, there's the election of flag bearer of the NPP, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. There are still challenges in respect of the Akufo-Addo Dam spillage and the effect on those communities. There's the renal department at Kolebu and everything that has happened. All they needed was 4 million Ghana cedis. It's now been reopened after quite a tussle. 19 people have had to pay exorbitant fees just to get the same services from private outfits. Some people have died, as we are told, and all of that. But the 4 million Ghana cedis required is just about 8 V8s or less, actually. We have all of these. I wonder now, when you look around, even MCs and the rest, and I say even, not disrespectfully, but all of these are riding in V8s and the rest. Can the state really afford to do this when we can't even take care of a renal department that is supposed to save lives? Anyway, I don't know whether you have any reflections on any of those matters or anything else. You can share with us, as we usually do, before we get into the papers.
I think I will touch on politics. If you look at the campaign that just ended, that is the NPP campaign, and there were money thrown in the system. And all that the party could do is, yes, look on. And once a while, they come and deny that, oh, it's not true and all that. My worry, where I said that we are doing this thing as if there are no rules to the game. Rules regarding the way we conduct these affairs. We are not allowed by law to induce anybody through monetary or other rewards. No, at all. And if you look at the NPP constitution, it frowns upon this. We saw and heard, even, people testify to this, how money were shared to the extent that some people had to complain because one person was sharing something than the other. So, are we a country of laws? I mean, we just sit down for this thing to be unleashed on us, and we will not talk about it. Yet, we want our democracy to develop. My biggest worry is that now it is gradually becoming in recent time, particularly in MPP, that if you are the highest bidder, you are the one who will carry the day. And once you get to that level, we have shortchanged the whole democratic process. And now messages will not mean anything to anybody. All that you need to do during election is to go and dole out money to your supporters and delegates. and you are home and dry. Is that what we bargain for? Is that the democracy we want to build? And the effect of this, we have not taken the trouble to know the effect. It has great cost. And the earlier we root out this thing from our system, the better it will be for all of us. But what we do as a society, the way out is to bring back the conversation of political party financing. Because be fair to political parties, and that is not to say I want to support them for what they are doing, no. But at the end of the day, the parties must fund themselves. And how do they do it? If we are in as a state and we want to support in that direction, I think to a large extent we'll be able to, lessen the effect of these things and create the environment that is required in any democratic enterprise. So I believe that we should sit as a society and bring back the conversation as to how we can finance political parties so that we can, tame these political actors and create a better system for ourselves. I think this is my message for this morning.
Well, thank you very much for those succinct thoughts. Just a quick add-on, though. The viability of Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia come election 2024, because obviously, selecting him as flag bearer is not the chief aim. The end game is to secure power. Just briefly, how viable is he as a candidate? Positives, negatives, pluses, minuses. How viable is he?
Is it for 2024?
Yes.
I guess we are talking about, yeah, all right. Yes, there is no doubt that he is a credible candidate. He has appeal in his party, and by extension, you are saying that he has the same appeal in the country if his party decide to support him. As to whether he will win the election is another conversation altogether. But let's look at his, what brings to the table relative to the election. The election will be determined or be fought on the grounds of the economy. The economic indicators are the one that people are going to throw out to him and see how he can respond to this. We have seen over the years how he was, he was sector ideas for economic and discussion he has held from he has made and have been broken beyond repairs. These are things that are going to be thrown. One of the factors that influence voter choices in Ghana is the economic argument. Voters want to know at each point in time of the political parties as the economic solution to our problems. And this is going to be a big one. Ghanaians rely on this so much that they don't care a hoot about whichever party you come from or which ethnic group you emanate. But all that they want is that the economy must be sound and the effect will rub off them in terms of their development, in terms of everything, and in terms of what? Their livelihoods. So this conversation will come. Don't take the ordinary Ghanaian for granted that he doesn't know the ABC of economics. At least he has common sense knowledge in that area. What are the prices of commodity? It's a gauge for the ordinary man. What are the levels of what? TNT within the country? It engages the attention of the ordinary man. How is he able to make a living in this country? All of this will come to play, and Bawumia must be ready for some of them. He has said a lot, and we have seen very little. how far we have come relative to this economic decadence we find ourselves. He must prepare himself for questions. Await him at all times. The second variable that really influences the choice of voters in this country is infrastructure development. And you realize that because infrastructure development is tied to the economy, as soon as economy fails, you are going to have the effect in that area too. The Constitution, through the directive principle of state policy, makes it abundantly clear that every section of this country is entitled to a fair share of infrastructure development. The government, from now to December, I'm not sure, will be able to carry out a lot of infrastructure development to appease people or to meet that requirement. What are they going to show now that the economy is not performing? All right. Even though they are priding themselves that the economy is beginning to show signs of improvement, but the million-dollar question to them is that, are they the one operating that or the IMF? So all these things put them in a very tight corner, especially Dr. Bawumia. Will he able to do the infrastructure that people want so that they can also enjoy their share of the national cake? Already, people are up in arms against the government to fix roads within their neighborhoods. And some of these things are falling on deaf ears. That is going to be a conversation during the campaign. And Mr. Bawumia must be alive to this. The third issue is what? How political parties fight corruption. We have efforts by the government to deal with corruption, but preponderance of corruption in this government is extremely amazing. And that is what is going to also be danger. How well you feel you fight corruption.
Right.
Has the government been able to fight corruption effectively? And these and other factors such as what? Employment. Unemployment is very high. There is a large army of youth who are idle and do not find jobs. A lot of them are desperately looking for jobs, except that they do not exist. In economic terms, they will tell you that there are people who are interested in jobs, but there are no jobs. There are people who want to change jobs, different aspects. But I'm talking about those who are desperately looking for anything to make ends meet, but they can't find. What type of statement has Dr. Bawumia got for them? How can he assure them of anything, having gone through 7 years of no show, if I may put it that way? How is he going to convince them in this regard? Because remember, politics is nothing but a contest of ideas. Yes, you must come out with the ideas which he has come out over the years. But beyond ideas, we want a referendum of your work. Can they show something to us? That's are the things that await my honorable Vice President.
Right. Interesting thoughts you've espoused. Later, when we're ending, I'll come back to you with another interesting conversation on this bit because people have started already couching, questions in respect of who becomes his running mate. The likes of the Majority Leader, Osei Mensah-Bonsu, the likes of Education Minister, Dr. Osei Duchum. There's also the Energy Minister, Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh. There's the Deputy Majority Leader, Joe Wise. All these names are coming up at the tail end. At the tail end, when we're done with the review, I would like your take on all of these, because I've also seen somewhere people saying it is not meant for the flag bearer to choose whom he wants. It is meant for the party to choose who the flag bearer, the running mate will be. But let's get into the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Wager Dam under siege. Minister warns encroachers to stay away, back off. Korea Exim Bank funded projects resume after November. Get Fund completes 2,731 projects 2019 to 2023. That's according to the administrator. Security personnel deployed to Toflopo residence electrochem reactor incident. On the back page, NPA regulates on imports, storage, processing, marketing of bitumen. January. And then 3 entities support flood victims. I'll start from there. 3 entities have donated relief items in support of victims of the Akufo-Addo Dam spillage. They include Rotary Ghana, District 9104 of Rotary International, and the National Insurance Company in partnership with 4 other organizations in the insurance sector, and staff of the Accra East region of the Electricity Company of Ghana. While Rotary presented a 100,000 Ghana cedi check to the Ghana Red Cross Society in support of the victims, the NIC and staff of ECG donated relief items estimated at 200,000 Ghana cedis and 60,000 Ghana cedis, respectively. We doff our hats to them, and we hope that many more will go down this road. Then there is, let me go to that story on page 12. So the Minister of Sanitation and Water Resources, Dr. Frida Pempe, has warned encroachers building close to the Weija Dam to desist from it or risk being prosecuted, and their buildings pulled down by the national security. She said it was illegal for structures to be put up less than 500 meters away from the dam, adding that such activities had the tendency of causing destruction over time. Dr. Prempe, who gave the warning during a working visit to the Weija Dam at the Kpong landfill site yesterday, said ensuring encroachers stayed away from the country's dams was not the responsibility of the sector ministry or the Ghana Water Company Limited only. In other words, we were all involved. But the point to be made is, in any country with proper systems, this wouldn't happen. So why does it keep happening? Yes. Even today, I'm sure someone in that catchment area is putting up an edifice. We'll wait for them to finish and then we'll say, you shouldn't have built here. Who gave the permits? Your reflections, sir. Doc?
Yes, I think, Ben, you have done it so well. Let me add something little to it. If you look at the building regulations in this country, require that anytime we want to build, the immediate assembly, local authority is consulted and drawings shown to them for permission and approval. If we are talking about building, it is one area assemblies derive a lot of revenue from, and it is an area that also require them to inspect, and then they are satisfied with what you propose to do, whether it sits well in the bosom of the law. The question is, who gave them permit? If somebody is in assembly, who gave permit? He must be responsible for some of these things. All the time, you realize that you go and check, you will see that they will have permit, and you wonder which human being in his right frame of mind, irrespective or ignoring all the rules governing the whole process, give approval to that person. Sometimes, of course, people don't even go for any approval. They begin to build, and they themselves will inscribe on the buildings, stop work, produce permit, that type of nonsense, I'm sorry. All these things are part and parcel of what we call breakdown of institutions within the body politics, particularly in local government areas, that the assemblies exist, but the rules governing the administration, they themselves either are complicit in breaking them, or they look on whilst people break them with impunity. This cannot be said of a democratic state. A democracy is always driven by law and rules. Anybody who goes against these rules is sanctioned without fear or favor. And sometimes the problem in this country is the political will or those who have given power to manage our power on behalf of society. They lack the political will. Sometimes those who put up these structures are big political actors within the space. They are afraid to touch them. They remain untouchables. All these things undermine the smooth operation of the assembly in some of this respect. I believe that going forward, we need the courage to be able to call a spade, and right the wrongs using the law. Whoever thinks he's affected can go to court and seek redress. After all, that is all democracy preaches. I'll move on to the support that has been given to the flood victims by the three entities that you have just mentioned. We commend them, we dove our hearts for them, and we are always in support of whatever they do. But it end there from our part of the society, that our society must begin, or our state must begin to prepare itself for such unfortunate situation. I stand side to deal with this. Right. A day that these philanthropists or good Samaritans are unable to support us, what then happens? We shouldn't wait for that time. We should begin to take steps to set aside some money that we are using and abusing unnecessarily for such important ventures. Last time you and I were talking about COVID-19 levy, which we still collect, and where is it being applied when renal department, until today's news that that is open. It's unfortunate. A government that we have given our mandate to, that please protect us and our properties, and we will render obedience. It's not bothered about our welfare. All that they care for is the next election. They will do everything possible to make sure that resources are intact to go during campaign and forget about the people whose mandate they are in office. They forget about their lives. They are dying of what? Kidney problems. Their very environment that God has given to them, that they have no choice of changing them, is being abused by they themselves and other actors within the political system. Right. And the state, which has been given all the powers to deal with it, act as if it is on sabbatical leave. It's unfortunate. We will have to set up during the next election and make sure that all these things find expression in the campaign, so as to give our mandate to those who are rightful in this type of business to be able to help us to address this problem.
All right. Thank you. Let's get into the Ghanaian Times. I'll just do this additional story and then dive straight into the Daily Guide newspaper. Bring the stories to you, then you can reflect on them. So please get ready to put all of them together. Page 3 of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Security personnel deployed to Toflokpo. Residents Electrochem react to incident. So what happened? A team of armed military and police personnel have been deployed to Toflokpo in the Adan West district of the Greater Accra region following a clash between residents and Electrochem Ghana, a salt mining company, resulting in one fatality and multiple injuries. According to reports, the clash, which followed recent violent attacks in the area, was a consequence of the disagreement between the indigents and the company over a portion of the Adan Songo concession. We all know of this issue. It doesn't appear to be dying anytime soon. But then some quick stories I want to bring your way from the Daily Guide newspaper. I'll just highlight a few of them. Veep receives rousing Jubilee House welcome. There were staffers at the presidency who came to salute him. Ayo. Mahama jabs Nana over Baumia. 2 Adan SHS students drowned in Volta River. Very sad, pathetic. 1,105 workers benefit from rent assistance scheme, and 900 votes rejected in NPP primaries. 900. Anyway, just to highlight, those I want to highlight. Cable thief jailed, and an unemployed resident of Dansoman in Accra has been sentenced to a year in prison for stealing electricity cables belonging to the Accra East region of the Electricity Company of Ghana. Jeffrey Obuobi, according to court documents, had used a cutter to cut core copper cable measuring 1 by 185 and valued at 7,550 Ghana cedis belonging to the power distributor. He was caught pulling the stolen cable from a transformer at Ridge when officials of ECG, who were responding to a power outage, arrived at the scene. So while we complain about ECG and its failure in many ways to supply electricity, there are these nefarious characters also out there. I don't know whether we have camera systems. I don't know what the system really is. But with people like this, I mean, I don't know. He's been given a year, but I hope that serves as a lesson to him. 1,105 workers benefit from rent assistance scheme, and the Minister of Works and Housing, Francis Asenso-Boakye, has revealed that 1,105 Ghanaian workers from 6 regions have benefited from the National Rental Assistance Scheme. According to him, the beneficiaries are in the Greater Accra, Eastern, Western, Ashanti, Northern, and Bono East region. Responding to questions on the floor of Parliament yesterday, the minister said 13,785,597 Ghana cedis had been disbursed to cover the rent advance for the beneficiaries. You know, these kinds of things always make for interesting reading. It would be interesting to get microscopic and go and find out who received what at what time. But anyway, then that story about the 2 Ada SHS students drowning in the Volta River, they apparently left school trying to go and swim, you know, without permission, and unfortunately they drowned. Any reflections on any of these stories, Doc?
Yes, I think I will start with the Toflokpo story. It's becoming one too many that all the time we hear the story about indigents and the contractors of that company always in a clash. What is the problem that the state cannot find solution to? I feel very uncomfortable because, look, there is no solution, there's a problem that can ever be dealt with. And it seems as if that we don't have any clue to this problem. It's unfortunate. I believe that the stakeholders in this matter must double their effort so that they bring finality to this case. Then we know who has the right to do what at what point in time. It helps everybody because the resource we are talking about is one of the important resources that people or countries depend on for a lot of things and for what? Revenue as well. So if we don't manage these things very well, but dealing with some of the problems associated with them, I'm afraid we are not going to get the best out of what God has given us.
Right.
So it is my suggestion that the stakeholders will take this thing seriously and address it once and for all. Let's look at the cable thief jailed. I support the judicial system and I salute them for this. Particularly when I'm about the ECG officials who were at the scene, and then apprehended this criminal and then threw him to the court for this decision to be taken. It is good that we do this thing all the time. Let us support ECG to support us. Once we support them, we are always home and dry. Of course, if they are able to deliver services as expected of them, we will not hesitate to take them on. But things of this nature should not be countenanced at all. It is becoming a practice in this country. I don't know whether, Ben, you have taken note of the atomic breach, the overpass. There are certain materials they use to separate certain portions of the road.
Right.
Individuals, criminals, of course, have started removing them. Not only that, I don't know whether you have also taken note of gutter slabs that people are removing.
Yeah.
I looked at them and said, these are enemies of the open society. All of us should open our eyes, and then when we see them say something, authorities, let us arrest them. These are things that affect our very survival.
I mean, even in law, you can bring to bear a citizen's arrest. I mean, when you see someone engaging in that, even if these ECG officials had not chanced upon these people, you can effect a citizen's arrest under the circumstances because the person could get away, apprehend the person and take the person to a police station.
Yes. We have to do that. Anytime I drive, I say, hey, these are real criminals. Something that the state has put up for all of us to use and make life tough for ourselves. Some individual think that they must survive, and all of us should not be in a civilized society. They must be thrown to what? Cooler and go and rest there. When they have a change of, they will come and then be reformed into our society. Okay. The issue of rent assistance scheme. This is a good one. I commend the government because it's part of their manifesto promise that they would deliver this, even though it has taken a long time, but better late than never. This scheme is in, and I'm happy that they are, giving account to Parliament and the rest of them. But what I want is that they must come out in full disclosure by publishing names and beneficiaries and the addresses where they work, and for us to know whether it was done the way it ought to.
Right.
Because sometimes not, you get political party apparatchiks who benefit from this. I'm not saying this because I have any evidence, but we are saying that for transparency's sake, for good governance purposes, it is important if they are able to publish the names online in the dailies and all that, giving details so that we also will follow those who are benefited from, because it's a state resource, and we expect that people from different political divide and all walks of life who are qualified must be given that facility.
Doc, we have just a minute. We'll try and manage it. I'll take the scoop from two papers. You don't have to react to all of them. The Finder, government concludes new funding negotiations for La General Hospital. If you look at the details in the Ghanaian publisher, it says, Mr. Kofi-Addo, the Minister for Health, says the government has concluded negotiations, identified new funding, and is in the process of advancing negotiations for contractors to remobilize to the La General Hospital site to begin work. After how long? After how long? How many years? You took down the facility. And by the way, the minority in Parliament is saying if that is not taken care of, then they will not approve the 2024 budget. They are going to resist it every step of the way. There's also, I did mention that I'll bring it at the end. Who partners Dr. Bawumia? Names have already come up. Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, Joseph Osei-Wusu, the likes of Dr. Educhum, among others, all these names, Oseiche Mensah-Bonsu. In some 30 seconds, what do you think?
I will deal with the running mate for Dr. Bawumia.
So both of them in about 30 seconds. Both of them, unfortunately, we're pressed for time.
Yes. If you look at this, we have started hearing arguments, conversation about the fact that it will be given to those, somebody from Ashanti region. I support that call. Ashanti regions, tactically, it's a good thing because this is where they get a chunk of their vote. If you go and place that person or pick that person from any region where you don't see much showing in terms of the party support, obviously that will not inure to your benefit. But for Ashanti, which is the mainstay of the NPP, if I may put it that way, if you pick a running mate from that place, is good. But the issue is that the criteria people talking about, even though I've not heard from the party, because I know this decision ought to come from NEC and the National Council with the support of the candidate concerned. So it's not a very simple matter. But what we have heard is that they will look at Ashanti region, who really was able to help Bawumia to pull a lot of votes in your constituency.
Right.
I ask myself, the first question is, those people who are Ashantis and they are in specific constituencies, are they party chairmen there or what? So as to pull people or encourage people to go and vote. That is one. Two, the issue also is that, yes, imagine you get somebody using the statistics you are talking about to get the right candidate that you want. Is it enough? Because it goes beyond us. That should not be the only criteria. And in fact, it shouldn't even come in at all.
So
you need the popularity of the person. You need whether the person has baggage. If he has heavy baggage, I'm afraid is going to weigh heavily against him. You need somebody who can rub shoulders with John Mahama and the rest of them. So
I guess
it's a tall order.
It's fitting to say that, like you just said, it's a tall order. We've run out of time, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, unfortunately, but thank you so much for joining the conversation this morning. Always enriching our conversation. We're grateful, Doc. That is Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, political scientist, director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. This segment, as always, is brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They are offering you free prostate screening if you're a man, free fertility screening if you're a woman. Just look out for them. They are here in Accra at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi Kronoma Bwehia, behind the Angel Educational Complex. Takra Deanaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Esiamanzama. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Of course, bringing us to the end of the newspaper review. Up next, get ready for sports with Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. Welcome back on the AM show. We get into our big stories, but right before we get into all of that, prepare for an exhilarating experience at the Grand Fair of the 2023 EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair. Join us at the Accra International Conference Center from Thursday, November the 23rd to Sunday, November the 26th, 2023, from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. each day. Now, come engage with experts who would guide you through the home ownership process. The 2023 EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair is more than an exhibition. It's the gateway to your dream home. The EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair is in partnership with EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank, and powered by the planned City Extension Project from Cities and Habitats Rent to Own. It's also sponsored by Elegant Homes and General Construction Limited, where quality meets value, Global Lighting, your solution to quality lighting, Syntex Tank, a strong, a tough, Gold Key Properties, building prestige since 1997. Springfield Estates, where dreams are built. Virtual Security, complete security solutions. DBS, your roofing experts. Virtual InfoSec Africa, security solutions by design. Saint-Gobain, making the world a better plan. Clifton Homes, beautiful homes, wise investments. And the Kensington Heights, Airport City Kumasi by HDG Homes Limited. Again, before we get into our conversation, I was just sipping on some water. Guess what? You know my favorite, Awake Purified Drinking Water. And here's why. We know water is life, but Awake Premium Purified Water is treated through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. Guess what? If you're thinking of sizes, they have the perfect ones. 330 ml, 500 ml bottles to fit your pockets and bags, 750 milliliters for the heavy drinkers, and 1.5 liters for those who always want more, like yours truly. They also have 19-liter jar bottles ideal for homes and offices. All you must do now is drink Awake Purified Drinking Water wherever you go. So choose a bottle of Awake Purified Drinking Water today and get quality top-notch hydration. Awake Purified Drinking Water, remember, it is one for life. For every bottle you purchase, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center. It's another quality product from Casapreco Company Limited. For bulk purchases, just reach them on 0262 351 251. This advert is FDA approved. And we know the show is approved by you. Thank you for staying. Up next, we're going to be having lots of conversations on our national life issues germane to all of us. We'll talk about the NPP electing Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia as its flag bearer, among other issues. The minority has said that until the La General Hospital project takes off, we see some concrete action, they're going to impede the 2024 budget. What are the dynamics? We get into that with our guest. He is Member of Parliament for the Buem constituency. Kofi Adams is his name. Kofi, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for the opportunity once again.
How is Buem?
Well, Buem is okay. Generally, it's part of Ghana, so everything happening anywhere, maybe apart from the president's hometown, is happening also in Buem. We are suffering investments, lack of investments, no interest by government in terms of our key needs, such as roads, things that cannot be done by the people and which government must lead the process. There's total failing on the side of government. And I say so because the community cannot construct their own roads. Indeed, construction of roads is beyond the budget limits of poor municipalities like ours. And so it is only central government that can respond to such needs. And when central government fails or stops ongoing projects, such as road projects that were the previous administration commence implementation on, then you tend to have your people suffering so much. They try as much as they can to cultivate crops, both cash and food crops. Sometimes it gets locked up in the farms because of poor routes to move it to marketing centers. And so that is one of the key dire needs of the people of Buim, which we continue to struggle. I have engaged the roads minister a number of times, assurance after assurance, even on the floor of the House, where when you speak, it's expected that it will be done. Timelines were given, but still nothing is happening. So that is the status of Buim now in terms of development. But otherwise, it's a peaceful place. It's a serene place that I keep inviting people to come to. When you visit Buim constituency, any part, whether eastern or western part of the constituency, you just feel like wanting to stay, even for more, because you enjoy fresh air. Everything is fresh. There is no pollution in that part of the country, and we have very beautiful mountains for people who love mountains, and we also have valleys for those who want to stay in the valley. So we have virtually everything. So Buim is good.
Let's also talk about, well, the last time we had an interaction, you spoke about the Agenda 111 project there. Sure. Is there any update? Is there any work happening on the ground?
It's at the footing stage. I think they are now filling what the contractors would describe as footing level. So maybe they will cast the appropriate concrete and start raising the block. So I do pray and hope that the contractor will continue the pace he has begun and maybe quicken it when we cross the filling stage for us to see the project completed. And that's all our prayer.
So that's your prayer. Is it something at least then? Is it something at least then? Looking at, we'll get to the La General Hospital later, but at least in your constituency, Agenda 111 has taken off. If this administration, the president has promised that by the end of his tenure, these projects would have been completed. Is it then something you want to applaud this government for?
Well, the reason such investments are good, but then if a government tells you and the leader tells you that it has to take a disaster like COVID to give him that shock to want to see investment in the healthcare delivery, then I was wondering what type of leader we had. Because even without COVID, the person you took over from was investing heavily in healthcare delivery, building hospitals, huge ones, to make sure that our health needs are met. Only for you to abandon all these projects. And then we got confronted with COVID. But for the facilities built by the previous administration under John Dramani Mahama and late Professor J.E.A. Mills would have been found wanting. And that when it comes to health infrastructure, the NDC truly stands very tall. Very, very, very tall. And we know about this. And so I was surprised that instead of continuing, you waited for disaster to strike, for us to suffer, before you realized that you needed to build hospitals. But even the promise that you were going to do them in within 2 years has not been met, because not a single one has seen any completion.
Okay, so you have a point there, but in terms of the NDC stands tall in healthcare, can you name some facilities you think, or some outlets that make you think you stand tall?
Every regional hospital that we have in Ghana, in the previously 10 regions, was built by the NDC administration, under Jerry Rawlings and under Professor Mills and John Dramani Mahama. Not a single one goes to the credit of NPP. Then moving further down.
They are putting up 111. That can counter all of those.
The 111 that you have no special funding, that has not been, not even a single one has been completed per their own timelines that they set. I'm seeing many of these health infrastructure that they've commenced being completed, or the heavy work will be done by the NDC. They have just named it. They have just talked about it. I believe strongly that it is the NDC that will come and find a way of completing many of these health facilities, because we always believe in doing such things. Today, health professionals are leaving the country. They are leaving not only because of poor pay. Many are also leaving because they are not getting any opportunity. Those times when you finish medical school as a medical doctor, there was no way you will be at home without job. Today, doctors are staying home long after they finish their work and waiting to be called and not being called. As for nurses, the least said about them, the better. If this government had continued the investment in health, in other words, building more hospital facilities and getting them to completion level, they will have to be populated with health professionals. So you need nurses. You will need those who will be in the X-ray department. You will need doctors. You will need all kinds of health service professionals. But the government decided to abandon ongoing projects. And so what has happened is that nurses leave and they can't get place to put them in. And many of them have to leave. So you've spent money, trained them, they leave, go and work for other countries that have not trained them. So that's the situation we find ourselves in.
Well, of course, under your tenure, the NDC's tenure, you can also talk about the Bank Hospital. I actually did a story on that a long time ago, the UGMC, and of course, an outlet that was already there, the Rich Hospital, now becoming the Greater Accra.
The Greater Accra Regional Hospital.
With some retrofitting.
With huge, not just huge investment. Of course, when you go there today, what is there now is not what it was when it was referred to as Rich Hospital. And the phase 2 is supposed to have continued almost immediately, but this government had delayed the
speaking of which, one problem I usually have, the Rich Hospital or the Greater Accra Regional Hospital. Have you been there recently?
No, I've not been there.
In many ways, it's falling apart. I went there years ago, saw what had been done and everything. It looked spick and span. One problem with our country is maintenance. So you go there now, and many of you see walls with all kinds, so many things are happening. And you ask yourself, how can we as a country remain like this? Well, you expend so much of taxpayers' resources, and then after a few years, you should go there, go and see for yourself.
I will pass there. Now that you have given this indication, I will pass there, just walk through and then check some.
Go to the wards. Go into the wards.
Yeah, of course I will go into the wards. I mean, I will go into the wards and try and see what it is that is going on there. But you are very right that we invest so much, but maintenance culture. And as a result of that, we always continue to spend so much. It's like road construction. You construct a road, and necessarily a small pothole will emerge in one point or the other. When it does, what you have to do is to cure it immediately by sealing it. But when you fail to seal it, because we are in a country where rain falls for a longer part of the year, maybe more than 6 months, you may be experiencing rains. Water will collect in these small holes that have occurred on the roads. And because you've not treated it, it continued to expand. It continued to expand. It continued to expand and now become huge potholes on our roads, damaging the road completely. So now you have to do fresh construction. But if we were maintaining the maintenance unit of either the highways or the feeder roads, were doing the work that is expected of them, you can have your road lasting longer than we have in this country. So maintenance is very important part of maybe every project that we do or that we should be doing in this country. I believe if we take serious maintenance culture, we'll be able to save a lot. It's like a vehicle. You buy a car and you decide not to service it, your vehicle will break down. No matter how new, no matter how solid the vehicle is, what keeps a vehicle going is regular servicing.
Right.
The change of oil, the checking of the tire pressure, and so on, and the brakes, and all those things that you need to do regularly. Once you do so, your vehicle will be very healthy. It doesn't matter whether it is a 2019 or whether it is a 2000 vehicle or 1999 vehicle. Once maintenance is appropriate, regular, and correct, you will have your vehicle being so held.
And if I may just chip in, one country that showed me a very good example of that, you know, the Cubans had, from the 1950s, when the embargo was placed on them, they were stuck with the vehicles they had. Those old
vehicles.
That's something that if you ever go to that
when
country,
you go there, that's what you always
and
write.
Somehow they have managed to maintain them. I remember traveling to all of these places, the Cienfuegos, to La Habana, and all of these places. You'd be using 1950s vehicles, and they were still on the road. So core points there. Definitely maintenance. Maintenance is key.
It's key.
Very quickly, I want you to look at this bit because you're in the Buem constituency. Something happened in election 2020 that got a lot of tongues wagging, electorally speaking, and that had to do with the Gulf, the people of Santo Kofi, Akpafu, Lolobi, and Likpe.
Yeah.
Now, the Guan constituency is in the process of being created. What do you make of that?
Well, it's welcoming news that the CI at long last has come. The CI that we were told was ready in November of 2020 has taken a lot of pressure, a lot of questioning, a lot of press releases and talks, and finally, the Attorney General claimed that he had given his opinion and everything, we kept waiting and waiting. It has come. It's been late and it's counting. We heard news of the EC's intention to withdraw the CI again, but yesterday, in a meeting with the subsidiary legislation, it was made clear that that intention is no more happening, and so the CI will travel its full course, and after 21 days of sitting, it will mature for the Guan constituency to have been deemed created. And in the same time, the electoral areas in both Vija-Sekam and Guan district would also be legally and constitutionally be seen to have been created to enable those electoral areas also participate in the district level elections to have their assembly members and unit committees equally elected. So it's good, except that the injustice that have been done the people of Guam, that is the four traditional areas, can never be compensated for by mere creation of a constituency, which would only kickstart in 2025 after the 2024 general elections. Now, as we speak, they are losing a lot. You know, there's a portion of the District Assembly Common Fund, 5%, which is set aside and distributed among the members of Parliament for emergency intervention. Most times when emergency things happen, it takes quite a long time for the assemblies to respond. So the MPs sometimes intervene, like a school roof is ripped off. There's a need for agent intervention. The MPs can go in. So that percentage is set aside and distributed among MPs. The Guan district is losing that 5%, which should have gone to them because they do not have a member of Parliament. In the same vein, when you go to the health insurance, a percentage of the fund is also set aside for health intervention projects by the MP. They are losing that one also. You go to Get Fund, a percentage is set aside and given to the MPs to support educational related projects through the district directors of education. That also, they are lacking it. Then, of course, the Social Intervention Fund, which is also given to the MP for some social intervention activities through any of the agencies that is chosen, either health, education, or district assembly itself. They have lost that one also because they do not have MP. That cannot be cured as far as the 8th Parliament is concerned. So for 4 years, because of government's decision to act in the way they acted, and the Electoral Commission denial of same for them to vote in the 2020 general elections, they have lost all.
Yes, but better late than never. From 2025, in the 9th Parliament, they will have representation. Something that comes up linked to that is also this question. That would then mean we would have 276 members of Parliament.
Sure.
Some have raised the question that with an even number, it could create even more problems when it comes to voting in Parliament.
No, it doesn't. That actually solves a lot of problems. It solves a lot of problems. Until 2012, we have had only even-numbered Parliament. It used to be 200 from 1993 till President Kufuor's era when 30 was added to 230. Yeah. You see, most of the laws makes it more than half, more than this, more than that. And so when it was 200 and they say more than half, you know that more than half is 101.
Right.
It's clear, well defined, because we do not have a half human being. Then when it went to 230, when they say more than half, you know that it should be more than 115.
Right.
Very clear, because we do not have half human being. When it went to 275, we have always struggled with the more than half.
Okay.
Because when you divide 275, you'll be getting 137.5.
Right.
So people have argued. So what is more than half? Is it 137 or 130?
So this will restore some balance.
This will restore some balance. This will restore some balance. Where it says to test, you can always do the necessary calculation and arrive at correcting the value to possibly a nearest whole number. So I think that an even number is better managed, better understood. It will not create any controversy when the Constitution says you need more than half of the all members were present and voting. It resolves it straight away.
Let's get into the issue of the selection of Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia as flag bearer of the NPP. It has been received with mixed reactions. A few days ago, we actually had interactions with some people in the Ashanti region, Kumasi, to be specific. Then we also interacted with some students from the University of Ghana. It was interesting listening to the different sides and what they had to say. But with this election, from where you sit, what does it mean for your party, the NDC?
Well, personally, and I must say that for a lot of persons that you speak to in the party, some of whom I have known have been part of developing strategies for the party all this while, it's welcoming news for us to have Dr. Bawumia on the ticket of our main opponents, the New Patriotic Party, because it makes it good. It will be an election that you will have records to compare. You will have the record of the NDC candidate there, and Ghanaians will see it clearly, and you have the record of the NPP candidate there, and nobody will attempt to run away from it. When you listen to Honorable Kennedy Ajepon's strong campaign, he made it very clear that the people who took us to, who mess up the economy, in other words, people who made things so worse and bad than it was when they took over, cannot break the 8. He even added, people who took us to IMF after destroying everything cannot break the 8. So admittedly, they themselves know that record comparison will be a key thing in the 2024 elections. And look at the votes that Kennedy got. He got 37% of the, or even 38. I should say.
Yeah, 37 plus, I think about 37.
37 point something. So let me
the vice president had 61.47.
Yeah. So
he had about.
So let me round it to 38, and when you add the others, that will be about 39. So 39% of NPP executives, these are not just mere voters, indicated clearly that the vice president who ultimately got elected per their constitution is not the best material for them and for the country. And so for us, we are happy that it is him, because it makes it easier to compare and makes it easier for people to make their choices.
But doesn't necessarily do that. If you look at the trajectory from Edubuahin, and let me just look for the statistics. We've had it on Joy News, we've put it out there.
About performance of...
Not even performance. It's about the trajectory of candidates, those who have wanted to be flag bearer. There it is. So if you look at the NPP presidential primaries from 1992 to 2023, you would realize that Albert Edubuahin in 1992 secured 56.6% of the vote. That is for the first time, once they went for the first time, which is what Dr. Bawumia has done. J. Akufo in 1996 secured 51.99%. In 1998, for the second period, then he secured 64.6%. Nana Akufo-Addo, for the first time, secured 47.97% in 2007. In 2010, he secured 78.89% and then went on to secure an even bigger margin with 94.35% in 2014. Dr. Bawumdu Bawumia, for the first time, comes in and secures 61.43%. It's more than any first-timer has secured.
Which of these persons you've mentioned had less than 64% and won an election that they went into, the general elections they went into?
Well, in 1998, for the second time, J. Akufo secured 64.6% and won the election.
So it wasn't less than 64%. That's why I'm giving you that. And in the J. Akufo's elections, he had not had a taste of power. Ghanaians, at least at that moment, were yearning for change. In the year 2000, they were yearning for a solid change. And don't also forget that our party then suffered some kind of losses. We had a Reform Party emerge. And so all of these were against us with the emergence of our candidate. But clearly speaking, like I said, nobody has attained less than 64% and won a general elections before. And all these first-timers that you are talking about did not also win the general election. So if we are going to do such an extrapolation, then we can clearly say that with 61-point-something%, you are going to lose the elections also. That is one. Two, all the other persons, I'm surprised that anybody would want to compare the opportunity Dr. Bawumia has had on the NPP to that of Professor Albert Edubwahi. Professor Albert Edubwahi, after a long break of political activity, was just emerging. J. Akufo had also not been a vice president before. He was also engaging.
He had been a minister before, I believe, under Bush.
That was long, and many persons who were with him then had even left and joined other parties. There were some persons who were with him in the Progress Party time who have left and joined, either gone. A lot of changes happened in the 1992. Some joined NDC, some even went to CPP. Some CPP persons found their way in NDC. Some even found their way in NPP, like the Freddie Blaze and then the rest who later on even joined the NPP. So a lot happened. He has not been known. The next person will be Aliyu Mahama. May he so rest in perfect peace. The longest Aliyu Mahama had was from the year 2001 to 2007. That is 7 years of exposure. Dr. Bawumdu Bawumia have had 15 solid years.
So you're adding all the periods from 2007 when Akufo-Addo
picked
running mate.
He had been at the forefront for 15 solid years or more. And so these are not the same. The level of exposure Dr. Bawumdu Bawumia have had, the opportunity he's had, is not the same as all other previous first-time contestants. All other previous first-time contestants. The closest is Alhaji Aliyu Mahama, who was vice president, running mate and vice president, and he would have had it for 7 years, from 2000 to 2007, when he contested to lead the NPP and didn't get the opportunity. So people are forgetting all these levels, these many years of exposure as flag bearer and vice president, and that counts a lot. So why would
you think that is part of what worked for him?
Of course, it worked for him, but it also exposed him as a weak person.
I see.
In both ways. It worked both ways. His exposure, therefore familiarity. There are people who will go for him because he's been there. They feel like, oh, he is there. He is the heir apparent and what have you for the long period that he's been there. Coupled with the system backing him and wanting him to emerge. And so everything was done. And that was why, if you observe, during the first round of the superdelegate elections, when there were 10 candidates, all the 9, everybody had cause to complain about the influence of the system in favor of one person. And that informed their decision at the NEC to have the superdelegates conference organized at the regional levels instead of bringing all of them together, or even at least zoning maybe putting up 2 zones, the northern zone and maybe the southern zone, so that persons could mix and not feel threatened in order to vote in a particular way. They refused. Subsequently, we saw what happened. It led to resignation of persons like Alan Kojo Chiremanteng from the party. Now he forming his own movement for change or what have you. Others equally complained. When it came down to the 4, the 3 of the 4, all of them kept complaining, including Dr. Efriye Akoto, Adainimo, and Kennedy Akumpreko Ajepong. All of them kept complaining.
Even before that, Boache Gajako
had also complained and decided that he wasn't going to even take part in the runoff elections to determine who enters as the fifth person. And right. So clearly, everybody realizes that the system was working for him. So that worked to his advantage. But at the same time also, majority of the people knew that Bawumia was empty.
Empty?
Empty.
How so? And you're referring to the person, by the way, that Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, the current president, has called the repository of economic knowledge. I remember quoting him in Tree, Bawumia yede ewiase nina nyansa ahye ne trim.
Thank you. Yedi
how can you refer to someone like that as empty?
Yedi wiase nina nyansa ahye ne tim. Nanso yede no kotena ho no ade a na o se enye no ne output no eye worse than nia na o kasa se enye. And that the record is there. That's why I'm saying this election is going to be a comparison of records. You know Dr. Bawumia, I think he appeared on some of your sister stations, and I watched that recordings, I think about 2 days ago. He spoke against debt levels. He spoke against borrowing. He talked about how inflation, debt to GDP. He talked about how bad putting taxes and more taxes on businesses is the wrong way to go. But today, what is the record? My brother, the debt that he complained about, Bawumia inherited 120 billion as debt of this country. Today, as we speak, we are almost 600 billion as our debt level. So 120 billion, which he claimed was bad, at least with evidence of huge investments. At least you have things like the Atuabo gas, you have the airports expansion, you have seaports expansion, you have rail projects that were happening, you have hospital, health infrastructure all around us, educational infrastructure all around us.
But you cannot say that the NPP has not done anything in that respect. They've continued with some of the flyovers. There's Agenda 111, there's free SHS.
Agenda 111, mention one Agenda 111.
But it's a work in progress, isn't it?
No, but factories have always been built and will continue to be built. Support to businesses will always happen. Look, the NDC supported the pharmaceutical industries heavily. For them to expand.
Of Agenda 111, by the way, but if you are speaking of 1D1F, the Ekumfi factory is there for all of us to see.
I'm saying that, but Ekumfi factory was built by government. It's a private person that government.
But that was part of the initiative.
Government have always supported industries to either expand or to add something to what they are already doing. So you cannot tell me that you promised us that you are going to build factories in every district. You said one district, one factory. Meaning that you were going to dictate it. Today you are saying, oh, it's private persons. When they do, then you go and support them in terms of taxes. Is that what they promised to you? In any case, so this 600 billion I was talking about. Dr. Bawumia said debt to GDP that was at 56% was bad. Now we are talking about 104%. So 56%.
Well, recently, if you follow what Fitch said, it said that by close of year, we'll be looking at 99%. I've seen a revision that even points to 80-something percent.
Ben, so 56% is bad. Assuming that it's even 70%. How can 70% be better than 56%?
But the economic dynamics, they don't remain stagnant. They change.
Well, so if they change, and they change for worse, should that be good? They don't remain stagnant. We expect it to be better. This is a measure. You say debt to GDP is a measure of your debt and your growth. And when it is calculated in percentage terms, you said when a country's debt to GDP is at 56%, it's so bad. Today, it has gotten to what? 99%. So how can 99% be better? When 56% you said was not good. We should have been seeing something lower than 56%. Then we say you have done well. But anything above 56% means that you are a poor performer.
Okay.
Then let's move. No, we haven't finished. He says inflation is bad. Inflation was at what? 15.4%. Inflation rose to over what? 54%. Recently, I hear they are talking about some 42%. So even if it is 42%, 42% cannot be better than 15.4%.
Inflation rose to 54.1%.
Yes.
It's now in the 30s.
And I'm saying that whether even if it is 30, let me even come down to the lower part of 30. That is even 30. 30 levels of inflation, 30% level of inflation cannot be better than 15.4% that you criticize. So in the same vein, when we talk about the exchange rate, when you needed just 3.8 cedi and it went a little up to about maybe even 4 cedis to get $1. And today, you need about 12.7 cedi to get $1. You cannot tell me that the one who's superintendent over this situation has done better than the one who had it at 3.8%. That's why I'm saying it's comparison of what records. When they came to power in the first 100 days, when they have virtually done nothing, they have taken no decision. And even if they did take any decision, their decision will not be yielding any results yet. Dr. Bawumia organized a press conference and credited himself as being the one who had stabilized the cedi depreciation and has locked the dollar and handed the key over to the IGP for safekeeping. Today, what is he saying about this? So these records, we will compare. Interest rates. They said interest rates at 25% was too bad. Today, businesses are borrowing at 40%. Because the Treasury bills
40%?
rate... Yes, Treasury bills rate is over 33%.
I thought it was 30-something.
I'm saying that Treasury bills rate is 33-35%. So no bank will lend to anybody below the Treasury bills rate.
They'll look at the threshold and then add...
Exactly.
Some banks adding about 7%.
Exactly. So if Treasury bills, Bank of Ghana, that's what it's doing, 33 to 35%, then businesses are borrowing at 40%. Then you tell me that 25% you criticize, that is bad, and you are superintending 40%, and you think that this is someone that they have put all the world sense in his head, as you accept this. When I have someone who gave me 25%, growth rate, 3.6%, they are giving us 3.1%. He said 3.6 is bad. So we expect.
But the growth rate hasn't always been this.
And I'm saying that,
if you look at the period 2017, whether it was on the back of the IMF arrangement or not, 2017 to around 2019 before 2020, you know where the growth rate is. Be factual. You know what the growth rate is.
I am talking about endpoints figures that I'm giving you now. The NDC recorded the highest growth of 14%. But we were not credited for the highest that we go. We were credited for the end. They didn't even give us average. Because if we should strike average, then we were doing so well. Because we did so well, recording 14%. We were not credited for 14%. Why do you want me to credit them for 8% and not talk about the 3.1%? Because even if we strike average, it's still far below our average. If you want us to do averages, we can do averages. But I'm not doing averages for now. Budget deficit of 6.1%, he said it was bad. Today they are giving us 12% and more budget deficit. So the credit rating, we were rated B-, he said, oh, that rating was bad. Now we are a junk status. They can't even rate us anymore.
Our ratings have risen, though.
And I'm saying that we got to a situation. If we were describing the environment, it was like NDC had us in the hall. If it is a chamber and hall that I want to use to describe, we were seated in the hall. The NPP under Bawumia have taken us to a refuse dump. So you can imagine what we do at refuse dump. We dump refuse there and do all kinds of things there. That is what they did to this.
So let's. I see that you're focusing on the economic parameters.
Because President Akufo-Addo in 2007 in 2010, in 2016, told us clearly that economy he doesn't understand. He is bringing someone who will come and deal with the economic related issues. That is why when I'm discussing Bawumia, I want to use the sector that he was marketed on.
Yeah, which some say has become an albatross around his neck.
Exactly.
Course, he's not the Minister of Finance.
No.
He's not the Minister of Finance.
Well, listen to this. Listen to this. He questioned John Dramani Mahama in 2016 that if he had any new ideas, he was in charge for 8 years. He didn't say he was in charge for even 4 years. He said you were in charge for 8 years. So he calculated even the period when he was vice president.
Right.
So Dr. Bawumia knew that as vice president, you are in charge.
In other words, especially as head of the economic management,
exactly.
he cannot extricate
himself.
Right.
So Bawumia himself has stated that standard, and that is what we are using to question him today.
Let's continue on this trajectory. So I mean, I can't wait for you to go.
Unemployment, because it's very important. Unemployment
I was actually going to mention.
Was recording about 8.4% under the NDC. Today, it is 14%. General unemployment.
13 point something.
14%. And youth unemployment is even worse, 42%. Unemployment generally, 14%. Youth unemployment, 42%. Why do you think people are living and using all kinds of unorthodox means to leave this country? So if we are told that this is the person who has, and in all this poor performance, we have had a lot more things happening in their favor. Bank of Ghana alone funded them over 45 billion in 2022. They gave them free money, while zero was given to NDC in 2016.
That has been hotly contested.
Contested by who?
Even our figures that we
contested
have. And
by who?
These days, I'll do that.
No,
I have seen. Hold on.
What Bank of Ghana give them?
Kofi,
yes.
Hold on. I have seen some data from the NDC, making a juxtaposition.
Yeah.
Most of them happen to be true, but some of the data in reference to no Bank of Ghana support and
in 2016
available
there was
to the NDC and all of that.
I'm saying that.
Tenable.
Let me tell you. Ben. In 2016, there was zero financing from the central bank.
Okay, so if you're restricting yourself to a specific.
No, I'm talking about. I told you. I'm dealing with end years.
Right.
The figures they use to attack us is what I'm dealing with. I'm not talking about maybe 2012. I'm not talking about 2013. There was still some level of financing from central bank at that time. But we took a decision that we were going to go 0% financing from what? Bank of Ghana. And in 2016, though an election year, we fulfilled that. That's what I'm referring to. And you cannot go for any other.
You also fulfilled that, to be fair, because the IMF was on your neck. And our governments only know how to do the right thing in terms of fiscal discipline, in terms of tightening its economic belt. Only when the IMF is backing down.
You should remember the Senche.
When they have you by the scruff of the neck.
You should remember, Ben, you should remember the Senche consensus. That we called a meeting of labor, political parties, and everybody to a meeting to engage. We prepared our own document and took it to IMF, which we were members of, and to ask for support. It's different from those who were telling you, we won't go to IMF today, we won't go to IMF tomorrow, only for them to be subjected to it. That is the difference. So we have a leader in whom you can trust, a leader that has delivered and will deliver, not one who stands to talk and give you the opposite. So in Bawumia, we do not have a problem. That's why I said it's going to be comparison of records.
Are you getting complacent? Are you taking this for granted?
Not at all.
No, hold on. I've heard some of your members say, you know what, I've forgotten who came into the studio and said this, that a member of the NDC, he said, all we have to do is mount the questions that Bawumia posed and put them on billboards or, rolling billboards so that people will see. And that will be our campaign. Yes, there are the 276, in fact, the 230 questions. There are the 130-something questions. There are the 70-something questions he posed. But crucial as the economy is, do you think Ghanaians will give the NDC the nod simply because you can punch holes in in the same areas that Bawumia was able to punch holes so many years ago?
Economy is key to life and everything, but we are not going to be complacent. Indeed, you have to explain these things to the people for them to be able to have a very good understanding how it affects them directly. How government decision, how government's refusal, for example, to pay contractors is affecting that ordinary person's life all the way down there. Because sometimes when you just go and say contractors are owed 10 billion, a taxi driver far away, a kenke seller far away may think that if they owe contractors, does it concern me? It is our responsibility to explain to them how, when that contractor is not paid, he is unable to pay the storekeeper he owes supplies. He is unable to continue his job. So the laborers who will work at his site, who will get their by day and go and buy the kenke from the kenke seller, are not buying the kenke. So you cook your kenke and you return it home. The taxi driver or the Uber driver who is running around, because that contractor was not paid and he couldn't pay his workers, when the weekend comes, they will not attempt to attend any party anywhere in order to call Uber for you to take them to that program. And so it's a chain of impact that these things have. And you cannot sit and just pose those questions and leave them and think that they will translate into votes. So we are not going to be complacent, because we know we are dealing with a candidate and a party who knows how to package rags, package it so nicely and seal it so well that they will sell it to you for gold, only for you to reach home and realize that you have bought rags. And you may be holding the real gold, but because you did not package it well, people will be passing you and rejecting what it is that you are.
So you accept that the NDC has failed in the past to properly package its?
Well, we have not
so-called good deeds.
We have not been able to present our deeds very well to the people. Equally, because also some of you, the middle class, have disappointed this country. Even when NPP came and they were failing,
I find it interesting.
And the signs
you put me in the middle class.
The signs were so clear. The signs were so clear. You refused to admit that the government was failing. You left it for only NDC to do the criticism. The religious leaders went quiet. When the government decided to spend money to do cathedral, when there were many other things that needed attention, and we raised some concerns about it, that let us not use state money to do it. I knew religious leaders who mounted platforms and criticized persons who were raising those concerns. Today, it has dawned on many of them that is a cathedral of lies, cathedral of corruption, and so on and so forth. And some of them have had to even resign from it. So we need to collectively play that role, because, look, we only have Ghana. You don't have anywhere to go. You can travel, you can have visas in your passport to go anywhere, but you only have Ghana. Whatever it is you do, Ghana will be your home. So when you don't speak out, when you don't get things corrected, so you have the correct leaders and you wait for propagandists to package someone who is not what he claimed to be, and then he's sold to you, then we'll all be in the country and continue to suffer. I don't think that Bawumia should have space to be able to speak anywhere and go without being questioned. People must question him. People must question his campaigners. People must question his promoters. They cannot run away from the mess they have put us in and think that he will say, oh, I will be my own man, I will do something different. When Senior Minister Yao Safomafu was praising Dr. Bawumia as being a best economic management team chair that he had ever seen, Dr. Bawumia was there, and he was nodding to all those praises, that he was truly an activist economic management team chair. He was deeply involved. And Yao Safomafu is no mean person. Don't forget that this is someone who has been a finance minister before. So when he is talking about how activist the economic management team chair was, he knew what he was talking about, because he has been part of that team as a finance minister, as education minister, and also now as a senior minister, and he has seen it. At that time, he was nodding in admiration and acceptance. Today, you are running away from the economic mess that you have created. We must not allow that to
happen. All right, and we've had a lot of comments coming through on some of these, but interestingly, I've heard a lot of MCs saying that they are, gearing up to campaign for the vice president. And we even have musicians. Gospel act Diana Asamoah has announced that she has recorded a campaign song for the New Patriotic Party in preparation for the 2024 general elections. So it appears you are late as far as
Bernard.
Benjamin is the name.
Sorry, Benjamin, sorry. Benjamin, what do you expect the MCs to say? When the president who we elected, who had given the little of his power to the municipal and district chief executives, himself has said that the rest of his energy, his mind, his everything, he's going to put it into campaigning for Bawumia and nothing. At the time the world is confronted with problems and leaders are seeking solutions, our president is seeking to put all his energy, all his strength, all his talent into campaigning to get Bawumia elected. So all their crimes will be covered. You know, our constitutional arrangement says a president can only be taken on, whether civil or criminal action, within 3 years after leaving office for his actions that he took whilst in office.
So you think
if President Akufo-Addo succeeds everything to have Bawumia planted in there, he will be covered. So after those 3 years, nobody can investigate him or do any other thing, take any steps against him again. That's why the president said.
You think
that is why the president. All of this is about that.
Himself.
All of this is about that. That is why, in times of troubles, when world leaders, have you listened to world leaders, even in places where we have elections? Even Biden, who thinks that he wants to seek re-election, he is focusing his energies on solving problems of America and even beyond. He's not talking about the next election. Even Biden, who wants to seek for re-election. Our president, who is supposed to be retiring, says that in these challenging times, when youth unemployment is so high, when there is so much hopelessness, when your own national security minister says unemployment is a security threat, when we cannot find solutions to all these myriad of problems that confront us, our president says his last assignment, all his energy, all his everything will be to elect his vice president to take over from him.
Crucially, just to cap off this end so we get to the La General Hospital, crucially, in there, you would also see that while you're saying all of this, you would have to come the ceiling of proof, evidence required to take on a former president.
Well,
hold on. It's very high per the Constitution, per our law books, and I don't know what exactly you would hang around his neck that you feel would.
You say it is high.
No, I'm just reminding you that the ceiling is rather high.
I know it's high. Our Constitution also created a block that if you don't attempt it by a certain time, you cannot even look into it. That is why.
But whether the vice president becomes president or not, you can still take up those matters in court within a 3-year period.
Benjamin, we know what had happened. That they control institutions, how the executive can manipulate virtually every institution and therefore not allow institutions to freely act in the manner that they should act. But what I'm saying is that the Constitution put a certain blockade by within a certain time. So whether the standard of proof is so high or not, over the period, Ghanaians have handled it in such a way that when a party or a president serves 8 years, you leave, another person's come, then put it through test. We must not allow a puppet to be elected a president to cover up virtually everything that we see glaringly that have gone wrong.
You're referring to the vice president. Isn't that a bit of a low blow?
Well, but that is what he's seeking to do. Why? What was not said of Professor Mills?
He said he is his own man.
What was not said of Professor Mills?
He says he is his own man.
What was not said of Professor Mills? By those same persons.
In respect of former President Rawlings, may he so rest in peace.
What was not said? What was not said by current ministers against His Excellency John Dramani Mahama? But I'm not the type of person who, if anyone feels offended, well, it's withdrawn. But the truth of the matter is that the president wants to install his own person. For me, my thinking is that
but it's not the president who voted for Bawumia, the delegates did.
Well, everybody knew that.
I mean, it's not the president alone.
They commandeered every single person that they can commandeer to make sure that they rallied for Bawumia. And that was why all others were complaining. That was why did you think that Honorable Kenyatta said President Akufo-Addo, remember we show down before he mentioned Dr. Bawumia? Why did he say President Akufo-Addo, remember we show down? Why did he say so? Why didn't he say Dr. Bawumia, remember we show down first? He knew what was happening. So he knew what was happening. He is in the party. He was contesting. That's why I say President Akufo-Addo, remember, we showed down. Why did he add him? Why did he add him? Have you asked that question? Have you gotten an answer to it? It's because he was deeply involved. They were manipulating things. So it's so clear. And I think that Ghanaians must not allow themselves to be deceived once again. They were deceived in the past. They should not be deceived now. We must all stand up and speak against these ills. We must all get involved. You see, the situation we find ourselves is a rescue mission. It's not about just John Dramani Mahama, but he's the most experienced person that we have at the moment. He is the one who has proven that in times of difficulties, he has taken decisions that have worked to help this country. If this government had continued with the trajectory, by now we would not have been where we are. When he was building more energy facilities and they came talking about excess capacity, he had in mind that the vehicles and the rest, the industrialization of this country was going to leap. He didn't have in mind that he was going to collapse industries. He had in mind that industrialization was going to be the order of the day, and industries will need energy. But this government have gone to sleep and have worked to collapse many industries. So today, if the industries are not functioning, they will not take the power. Because you can only use what it is that you need for your production purposes. If many of them are leaving to the neighboring countries, Cote d'Ivoire and the rest, you will not have productivity going on, and your energy will stay waste.
Right. I think,
and John Mahama will want to correct.
I think we've done enough of the Baumia and the politics. I also see, of course, sometimes I think some of our viewers or the communicators of the parties from both ends, they think we don't notice. I see some of the foot soldiers, so to speak, sending in messages. You know I'll not read them, right? When I see that you are one of those and all you say is skewed in a certain line, you know I'm not going to read your messages. So don't even waste your data, because we are looking for people who are sharing incisive thoughts, rational thoughts. I beg your pardon that I'm going this way, but the party communicators, NDC, NPP, we see when you send in messages. And I usually will not read unless you shift and you are sending in something. So I'll not mention names, but if you are listening, you know whom I'm referring to. You know yourself. I'll not read those messages. They don't add anything to the show. The government has identified new funding for the La General Hospital. According to the story, Mr. Kofi-Addo, the Minister of Health, says the government has concluded negotiations, identified new funding, and is in the process of advancing negotiations for contractors to remobilize to the La General Hospital site to begin work. Here's the catch. The NDC says if you don't get this on board, rolling, we're not going to support the 2024 budget. Is that something we want to do, though, especially considering where our economy is? I do agree. And this matter, I have spoken of time without number. You can't take a medical facility like that. I go to that area from time to time. The people there now are now forced to go to either private health facilities or go much farther distances just to get health care. But at the same time, where we find ourselves, is this the right posture to adopt?
Benjamin, areas of investment that no matter the situation you find yourself, that you should never ignore as a government, includes health, education, food, and possibly shelter. Under food, I'm talking about water and sanitation, and all those things come under there. And so, for a government to decide to pull down a functioning health facility when you had no hand on the funding, Benjamin, will you pull down, assuming that it's even a madhouse, will you pull down your madhouse completely in the name of some beautiful architectural designs that you have received when you had no funding for it? You decide to pull down your Atakpame building that was at least giving you shelter, providing you shelter. You pulled that down when you had no funding.
So this was done in July 2020.
2020.
And the sector minister, Kofi-Addo, is now saying it will take off.
It will take off soon. The president himself went there to cut short, just like he did for Palugu Dam and many other things that they have castled and nothing had happened, including my own district where they castled for 1D, 1F. Today you can go there and hunt for antelopes and grass cutters. It is bush. Nothing has happened, not even a single block. So clearly, I want to commend my colleague, the Member of Parliament for La Dade Kotopon, for making the statement she did yesterday on
Rita
Odole Soa. That is the type of leaders that we want and constituencies actually need. That when the issues confront your people, you bring it on the floor of the House, raise it, and you get some level of consensus from members, and it is pushed. So she made a statement yesterday on La General Hospital, and virtually everybody who contributed agreed with her. And the majority leader made it clear that he tried to explain the challenges that went through, and when the health minister said funding has been secured, he said, you cannot secure funding when it has not even come to Parliament for Parliament to approve it. And so you need to hurry and therefore bring it for. And if we don't find it in the 2024 budget, which is the last budget of this government that brought down that health facility, then of course the issues raised there will happen. Because this is our last budget. Even though it's been read in 2023, it's actually 2024 budget. So they do not have any budget to present again. This is our last budget. They only will have a review maybe somewhere in July, and we cannot wait for a review to factor such a major project like the La General Hospital project. And so whatever funding it is that they claim they have secured, whatever it is, it must find space in the budget. They would not take any deception anymore as far as the health of the people of not just La, but other surrounding constituencies depend on it, because it's the closest referral point. It's the closest referral point to even Crow and other areas. So they depend on it. It's not just the La people. As far as even Lejokuku, they all also depend on it. So it is important to have that facility. Because of lack of that facility, people have to travel long distances for a next higher level of care. And it is a matter that is of great concern to us. We have talked about the support for the flood victims, that it must find space in the budget. We've talked about the sea defense project for the people of K2, the K2 area, and then a part of Keta areas that have been suffering, and even the Adan areas, because it's also important we do that project to protect lives. So anything that is geared towards protecting lives, that will regenerate the economy, that will help them support economic growth, we are in for it. And we want to see it in the budget. Government can cut e-size, government can cut many other areas, and to make savings for such other interventions. At this moment, what the president should be thinking about is bringing the Ministry of Rail Development and Transport together, reducing number of ministries and downsizing size of government. Proper downsizing should be happening, not telling us that he's going to spend his energy to campaign to get his candidate elected. That is not the end. That is not why.
Speaking of downsizing, in a recent interaction with Dr. Ishmael Yamson, Yamson and Associates, he says on the size of government, President Akufo-Addo should demonstrate that he can run a lean government in his last year. But let's even look beyond that, okay? The NDC, you've also had problems with the size of your government. Maybe the NPP has added on in numbers that we've not seen. But even with the numbers that the NDC has had, we've been told that you can do with a lot more. You look at the constitutional provisions and the 19, okay, that are made mention of, and beyond which we can make some.
Well, even the 19 is a number given as cabinet.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
The cabinet minister.
Of course, you would have to factor in now 16 regional ministers. Some say that you can have some ministers for maybe agric or something, you know, handling other ministries, core ministers handling regions as well. Yeah. We can take away some of the deputies. In fact, a lot of the deputies can go and all of that. How is an NDC administration going to tackle this issue? Because guess what? It goes down to it unless you are not assessing how much every peswa we spend means. You have the Kolebu Renal Department.
Yeah.
They need 4 million Ghana
million.
cedis.
Yeah.
That is about 8 V8 vehicles.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you see everybody. Even some assembly people are beginning to ride all of these cars. You don't know where they get them from. But MCEs, DCEs, all of that. The last time I saw, they are riding in V8s. The question is that what we need as a country? Is that our most important, variable in our national life? All these V8s. So you get it. The more of such officials we have, the more of such spending, and the less goes to the ordinary man at the hospital, on the road, in the classroom. That's why I'm posing this question.
I agree.
How is the NDC going to tackle something like that?
Thank you. It's something clearly that the NDC had demonstrated, and President John Dramani Mahama has demonstrated this in the past. You will observe that President Mahama decided that even though he accepts that information is key and important for development, he placed information and communication ministries together. Transport was one ministry, even though we saw massive, under one transport minister, we saw heavy investments in our Kotoka International Airport, the Terminal 3 project. We saw the Tamale Airport. We saw the Ho Airport. We saw a number of sea airports, both Takoradi and Tema 1 being expanded heavily, now receiving some of the largest ships that you can ever find in the world also can come to Ghana here. There were preparations to have a private port also in Takoradi, a private free port in Takoradi. We had rail development going on. The Tema Mpakadan rail project was a project that funding and designs and everything was done under His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. We had only one minister and a deputy that were superintending all these sectors. Today, President Akufo-Addo comes and decides to break the transport ministry to aviation, rail development, and transport with numerous deputies. So we will get back to the old system of having just transport ministry. Some are even suggesting that, as it was earlier, transport and roads should even merge so that roads and highways and transport will become one ministry. You have agreed. But the good thing is that President Mahama has made a promise to work with not more than 60 ministers. And I know him, he will keep to it. So he's going to work.
Even to be factual, even 60 is high. I mean, you ask yourself, a country of what? Some 30. Hold for me. Let me just make this point. A country of some 31 million people, 31 million plus people. You look at other jurisdictions, that Germany and other places that we go, pan in hand, getting funds. How many ministers do they have? Even 60 is rather high.
Like he said yesterday, he doesn't want to make promises that may be too way off. If you get in, you could possibly maybe even manage it better. You can still come down. But he's giving that as a ceiling that he will not go beyond. And so, considering the numbers that we've had from 126 to 90-something now, considering the numbers that we've had, let's say 60 as a ceiling is a good number to start with. When we work our way through and work so well, we could be thinking about further reducing the ceiling and reducing the ceiling till we get to a point where we will take even the constitutional injunctions of 19 cabinet ministers and some special ministries that are mentioned in the constitution and free the hands of the president, but just give a certain ceiling, you cannot go beyond. So I think it's workable. There are a lot of duplicate agencies that we have that can be amalgamated into one, so they don't waste so much. And there's so much wastage in the system that we will have to work with. And we will do this collaboratively. The NDC believes strongly that we do not have all the brains, all the ideas. And that is why we always believe in that engagement. It is in that spirit that yesterday he started building the Ghana We Want talk, first by engaging with TUC. Because TUC has a lot of ideas and a lot of brains there. And any government that wants to succeed must be a friend of TUC and tap into the ideas that they have. We don't pretend that we know everything. And that is the good thing about the NDC, that we always want to bring people together and build ideas. That was why we built the consensus document. took it to the IMF, and that document saw the trajectory of growth that we were experiencing. And that was why Economic and Intelligence Unit predicted in 2016 that the NPP was going to win, though, but the economic boom that we will experience in 2017 and 2018 will be so good, but not because of the decisions of the party that will win the elections. This was predicted even before we went into the elections. But when we started seeing the signs of President Mohammed's decisions and policies, Dr. Bawumia took credit for it. Now, 7 years on, your own policies should be yielding results, and all we see is negative. And you say you'll be your own.
Well, that has tended to be a trend among you politicians.
You'll be your own man.
When it is rosy, you take credit for it. When it's not,
well,
you pass.
Don't forget President Mahama when they had the energy situation. He didn't go back blaming the previous administration for not investing in energy. He took responsibility, even though.
Well, mention was made of what had not been done in the past.
Yeah, but he took responsibility and said he will fix it,
right.
And he fixed it.
Okay, so to cap off the conversation, you've mentioned that engagement with the TUC, which brings to mind this bit. The TUC boss has said, on the back of President Mahama, former President Mahama, saying that he would run a 3-shift economy. Okay, so I found that to be interesting, exciting on some level because of what happens in other economies. And also because if you're running an economy that doesn't sleep, it means more jobs will be created for young people. The TUC boss says it will change our country and our economy forever. But again, talk is cheap. Hold on, Kofi. As we have seen in this country, both with the NDC and with the NPP, what were we not told about taxation to production? What were we not told about roads and everything? So my point is, while it sounds exciting, Ghanaians have had a rough ride with listening to sweet talk that has resulted in nothing. Is this not just sweet talk again to sway people to vote in a certain direction? How is the NDC going to execute this? We have a system, one working shift system that has run for as long as I remember.
That is why most things that we make promises on, we justify it with evidence. If you look at our manifestos in the past, we have always justified why we say this could be done, this could be done, that could be done, and this could be done. The 24-hour economy is simple. Let me give you an example of maybe one institution. Let's take something like DVLA that renders some services. By 5 p.m., they say they have closed. You are working here. Maybe you also close around 5 p.m. and you want to get some service done that you want to do it yourself. But because they have closed at 5 p.m., you are not able to get served by DVLA because they have closed. But it is possible for DVLA to run 3 shifts so that at all times, when Benjamin has closed from his work and he is free, his free time that he would have been resting, he can use it to go and execute that particular need that he wants. But we are running an economy where all of us start at the same time, closing at the same time. And the world doesn't also sleep at the same time. Whilst we are awake now, Benjamin, some people are sleeping. Whilst they are awake, we have gone to sleep. How are they going to relate with us? So President Mahama wants our economy to run 24 hours so that at all times when anybody wants to do business with Ghana, it will be interesting for you to have someone to attend to you.
Thank you so much, Kofi Adams, for having joined the conversation this morning. Kofi Adams is Member of Parliament for the Buim constituency, and he joined us to talk about many issues of national scope germane to our national life. Crucial among them, we spoke about the selection of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, Vice President of the country, Vice President of Ghana, as flag bearer of the NPP, and of course the General Hospital, which was brought down in somewhere July 2020 and has not seen the light of day since then. Well, still to come on the show, we'll be telling you about the Ministry of Education and its collaboration with the NEIP. It's all about STEM Novation 2023. All of that after the break.
In the neighborhood of Kofi-Addo, a community in the heart of Ghana's second commercial hub, Kumasi, Michelle Ayongen-Dasa runs a cosmetics factory. She refines and processes shea butter into skin and hair care products. Michelle has outlets all over the Ashanti region. Though she has clients abroad, her plans to increase exports are deterred by high shipping costs.
The major issue with trade within the continent is shipping. It costs more to ship 2 kg to Nigeria than to ship to the UK. So yes, it doesn't add up, but those are the issues we have to contend with.
Michelle has been attending training sessions organized by the African Continental Free Trade Secretariat in the Ashanti region of Ghana. The AFCFTA is the world's largest free trade area, bringing together the 55 countries of the African Union and 8 regional economic communities. It is to eliminate trade barriers and boost intra-Africa trade. According to the Engine of Trade in Africa report, there is high price of doing business. This is due to high cost of utilities, IT services, transportation and fuel, as well as limited forms of transport. One of Michelle's banes to realizing her export dream is the cost of production. She believes this goes against her competitiveness with foreign counterparts.
How are we going to compete with the others if Ghana opens up and I have a contract that I have to supply? I'm producing at a higher rate because even access to my funding is beyond 30%. But then there are other countries that are doing less than 10%.
Greenhouse farmer Olivia Amponsa Echampon faces similar challenges. During power cuts, she buys water to irrigate her crops.
Yesterday we have an issue with the lighting, so we couldn't use the pumping. So either you do manual or gravity. And sometimes if it prolongs, you need to go and buy water. And the water you're going to buy, you don't know the salt content or how the water tends, and it might affect the plant.
As a requirement for trading under the AFCFTA, goods must be 60% Ghana-made. But there is difficulty in accessing raw materials, especially for the fashion and apparel industry. Fashion accessories company Gifted Hands sources its yarns and cords outside the country. Aisha Ababezi Akwete is CEO.
When you are manufacturing, most of the items that we use to manufacture, it's difficult to get them from here because we don't have raw material manufacturing companies based in Ghana. So then maybe you can get 30%, maybe you can get 50%.
Abba's situation is no different from Vivian Awoche, a shoemaker. She says leather produced from cowhide is rather consumed as a meal.
Raw material na me di ejuma ye ni no Ghana ha o. E pieces na abrofo na yusu no. E na yen Ghana for no bi nso aje ato mo ho Ashanti region mo kofa ba. E na yen nso enya bi e de ye. Nti bi wala de bi wa ba na se me di ejuma. Wo beka se na we udi ska koto se o de ye den. But leather broni yusu a ono mpe no. And I akosesa ba ye nsuye krom ase yeso ye di be bibi tie ba na wa wo de unyansa ato ho ahwe ade a obetimi di aye.
Olivia needs financial assistance to operate an open house farm, but this may come at a huge cost. She is improvising with a bamboo greenhouse structure.
What we really need for expansion is financial assistance, being able to secure vast land. And even if you cannot produce, the cost of the structure is very high. We have an improvised way for the greenhouse structure with the bamboo, the woody and the net. We can improvise and help us to increase the yield.
Product certification and export documentation are the most meticulous processes in the export requirement. Businesses bemoan the difficulty in entering the international market and trading with ease. Without product certification, Olivia has lost potential international clients.
But sometimes it's very difficult as a small scale to know your industry well, to know what are the certificates or the certification that you need in order to upgrade from maybe the small to medium or to the commercial. So sometimes it's very difficult that they need to put in more education on that.
Abba narrates the story of a colleague whose application has taken over 2 years. She is worried she might be hindered too.
Because I have a friend I spoke to who is into manufacturing of cosmetics, and she already had put in application, and from last year to now the application has still not gotten to approval stage.
In Burkina Faso, the Indian Africa report recognizes access to information as a bottleneck that affected women's ability to take advantage of any new trade opportunities. In Ghana, among female business owners are semi-literate who bemoan limited access to information, custom regulations and procedure. Semi-literates like Vivian Awache, a shoemaker for 17 years, cites literacy disparities as a major barrier. She laments the non-inclusion of the informal economy for opportunities.
Especially young school kakrani saying won't ho hwe the end of the day no omode bemma omo a omunim rofuka, which is Ghana hands say won me be ya adwen a Ghana ha say before wo ye beka say bia obi benya benefit obi bi ho no ebedi nkan ko school for no ha ansa wo kra na wo form a school semonye no wa ba beti.
Businesses outside the capital of Ghana, Accra, seldom have access to training opportunities. Olivia wants training to be extended to other regions.
Most of this training takes place in Accra. For us in Kumasi, I don't know, but most of the trainings, if you heard about it, is in Accra. So sometimes if you are busy, the transportation in and out, sometimes you don't get time to go.
Limited access to agricultural inputs, technologies and extension services hamper women's effectiveness and productivity. Akusia Amevo is CEO of Keshikozi Company Limited, a palm oil producing firm. She is hindered to move up the value chain in producing value-added palm oil.
What we are doing here is being done manually, so it's very cumbersome. So when we get machines, that will help us to be able to produce more.
Vivian wants a professional network and association to be created for female-owned businesses.
I just say wunya obia obeso wonsa de wa kwa kodu edi baby kura na ya radio but hwan ho na woko ohun say ade a ya de niam abafom na nyina ya te niam ase wo mpanifo ya kiro se bia se ni na ya kiro niam ni se bia se ni se ya edi bia nyehu ne ko ni nyehu but dia se de bia e be kiro ma wate niam ase yie no eno na ye like.
Both Abba Basie and Vivian say an enabling environment for their businesses to thrive will help them make the most out of the AFCFTA, which will aid their impact of assisting and employing underprivileged women.
I think in my own singular or smaller ways, I've been able to create businesses or create jobs for our youth, because I employ people who have finished secondary school who cannot continue.
Mitimi ye adwuma ne bebre na mitimi edibi ma no ene even mema omani je ho ne nkwala e wo fie a omuso eni hwe ye no se at least omuso nkoton anase o menchiro mo adwuma bi tse girl am ne ye adwuma ise onu ebi ni fie.
But the Ghana Standards Authority are mandated to ensure high-quality goods are produced in Ghana. The authority outlines processes businesses have to go through to get products certified. Regional Manager Samuel K. Frimpong observes most businesses instead fall back at the documentation stage of the certification process. This process requires businesses to produce a detailed quality manual of their business operations.
So the application, the document review and all those things, those are the requirements. And most of the time, that's where the delay is. You know, we are part of this side. Documentation is a problem. Asking someone to put things on paper becomes a problem.
Similarly, the Food and Drugs Authority says some businesses fail to address queries that are raised when their products undergo scrutiny. John Lai Odaitete is Regional Manager of the Food and Drugs Authority.
The products will go through a lot of scrutiny. The label evaluation, the content evaluation, where the laboratory analysis will also have to take place. And so, whatever you miss in the process, you'll be asked to replace or address. So queries are raised. Oftentimes, people fail to address the queries that are raised.
The Ghana Standards Authority and Food and Drugs Authority have affirmed their readiness to support businesses with product standardization and certification.
So from the date of inspection, the day that we come to visit and inspect and then take the sample, from the date to the day that you get your license, that's if everything moves on, all things being equal, you have no problems on the way, no failing and those things. At 60 days.
And we are all poised for action. We need to ensure that whoever visits our office is assisted appropriately, yes, to get things done. Because we are talking about the health of the consumer. So the safety of the product and the quality should be ascertained.
For Joy Business, Mona Lisa Frimpong reporting.
Welcome back on the AM show. We're glad that you stayed with us. And guess what we're discussing next? We'll be hearing from the Ministry of Education and the NEIP. Why? Well, they are collaborating, teaming up to come up with STEM Innovation 2023, the year's biggest science event at the CD Conference Center, University of Ghana, on the 14th and the 15th of this month from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. But what's all of that about? We'll be getting the details from our guests. First, Nana Afrasika Mensah. She's Deputy Coordinator, Free SHS. We also have Aaron Chum Akwabwa, Strategy and Innovation at the Ministry of Education. He is Director, Strategy and Innovation at the Ministry of Education. That name, Akwabwa, is the quack. It's always good to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
As for Nana Afra, I've never interacted with her, I don't think, but you, I have.
Yes, sir.
I've had an interaction with you. So here we go, STEM Innovation 2023. It's an interesting bit. Well, I saw it today, of course, when we spoke about it yesterday, STEM innovation, and here we go. But what's the breakdown, STEM Innovation 2023? What's it all about?
Okay, it's STEM and innovation, double STEM innovation. It's simply a competition among senior high school, senior high, technical, and then the vocational schools. Why STEM innovation? Because we want to tap into the creative potential beneficiaries of the free senior high school. The investment that we are investing into the free senior high school space. We wanted to see if students can be innovative and at the same time to creative. So last year, for instance, we gave them 3 thematic areas for them to develop a project, not just a project, but a project that at the end of the day, it should be able to solve an issue within their community. So this year, for instance, we came up with 3 themes. We have urban gardening, clean water, and then flexible use of
urban gardening,
yes,
clean water, and use of
flexible use of electricity for them to develop a project on it. Not just an ordinary project, but a project that at the end of the day is solving an issue within their society or community.
Okay. I wish we could solve the electricity issues.
Yeah, we
will. Nowadays, yesterday, my power went off since you mentioned that, I mean, some innovations in that regard wouldn't be bad. But what is the vision behind, what vision drives this? Yes, you've spoken about some of what it goes into, but what's the vision behind it?
All right, the vision behind STEM innovation, we have the science and math quiz, which is theoretical, and then we are bringing the STEM innovation to solve our societal problem for us.
Okay, so
practicalize a practical-based competition amongst the senior high school students. Yeah.
Okay, I see you want to top up.
I would love for Ghanaians to visualize, if you were closing your eyes and thinking about what STEM innovation is going to do for yourself or for the nation, is that it's going to have us do something, right? We're in a position where the average Ghanaian student is going to go through their educational system and do the chew, passport, and forget. They'll be able to tell you what matter is, but they won't be able to create something for you on average. I'm not saying everyone. So STEM innovation is trying to tap into our new curriculum into our new push towards STEM in general to actually highlight what can be done. And so when you close your eyes and you visualize what's happening, we see students who are engaged, who are working hard and are using their knowledge to create practical solutions.
Now we know that there are other STEM competitions. Yours is not the only one, but it's probably the biggest. What sets STEMnovation apart from the others, and what impact would you say so far it has had on the community?
Let me speak about that. You know, last year, for instance, a school in Oti region, Rara community, they came and
Rara, yes.
Yes, it was the project that this student developed. It's mind blowing. You know, you can go to communities like what's the name of the community? I forgot the name of the community. It's at Oti region, and then a student realized that teachers and nurses were not accepting postings to that community simply because there's no lights.
Okay.
And these students were able to find solutions to that. They developed a lighting system, and then they have rural electrification. When you go to the marketplaces, they have wiring, and then women in the market charge their phones and everything. So STEMnovation is here to solve issue within a community. We will challenge the students, identify an issue within your community, and then find solutions to it.
And I think one of the larger issues that is different about STEMnovation is that it's not hypothetical. So, for example, there are a lot of other practical contests out there where you'll build a robot or do A, B, C, and D. And sometimes the quest or the challenge is so hypothetical that they want you to think about what would you do on the moon. We are very straightforward. It's like practical in the sense that you're using your hands.
Things we can use.
But practical
tangible
what you
stuff.
can use, tangible things that can happen. And so I think that's one of the larger pieces here. And it also, I think it answers a question of who's actually involved in this process. STEMnovation is one of the few STEM contests, and especially secondary school STEM contests, that directly goes after TVET institutions. Right? A lot of times when we talk about STEM, we want to put it to a place where we are not having or engaging or directly charging our TVET institutions to get involved. But we are doing that in STEMnovation. So I think that's one of the larger pieces there also, where we're trying to get everyone. It's an inclusive process.
Stay with me, Aaron. So what are some of the innovative projects we can expect at the grand finale? And for those who may want to come and watch, why would they even want to come and watch these? Just whet our appetite in terms of what we can expect at the grand finale.
I'm giggling because there's like this big giant list. I don't want to spend too much time. But so, for example, if you want to see how a smart home works and how you can have a smart home work in Ghana, you can come and see that. So, for example, I've
seen some in movies.
That's literally, we had it, and you can't really tell the size of this desk, but this is a huge desk, maybe about 2.5 meters across, whatever it is. And we had a school last year that brought a smart home that size and had it fully functioning all the way to the point where you can have a smart home functioning with the automatic gate, and even they had like a toy dog on there. Like they're actually going to that level of detail. So things of that nature, things where you can think of how you can continue to use hydroelectric power properly to ensure that we have electricity. So you're not in a position that you're in or I'm in when there are times I'm at home, I'm like, the light might go out and I'm nervous. I want to do things before that happens. So I think Ghanaians are going to be very engaged because they're going to see things that they only seen, like you said, in movies or outside of Ghana. I think that's another thing. I think another level of excitement, this is very like a little more visceral, more to the heart. You're going to see young men and women smiling and engaged in education. We're hearing so many stories of, I don't like being in school, this isn't making me happy, and things of that nature, or I'm studying things I don't like. You're going to watch young men and women fulfill part of their dreams so that they can end up using these projects for future things within their own communities and to make money and to have future careers.
Okay. Now, you've already given us a bit of a highlight in terms of that school in the OT region, Rara to be specific, and that innovation. But in terms of diversity and inclusion, how will all of these bring about diversity and inclusion as far as STEM education is concerned? And what does this bode for the future of STEM education?
I think one of the pieces here is like when we talk about diversity, it cuts across different aspects, right? One of the diversity issues that we see in Ghana sometimes, and I just was listening on the news, is that they were saying that, oh, this program only happens in Accra. This program only happens in Kumasi. Well, this is a universal program that's been opened up to every single secondary school and every single TVET institution, every single tech in the entire country. And so that is step one of just regional and nationwide diversity. Also, the fact that we are actively pushing and trying to support women in STEM through this process. And so of our 24 finalists, four of the schools are all girls schools. And then the vast majority are also mixed schools. So we're bringing in more and more women consistently. And thank you to one of our sponsors, Bountiful Technologies, for supporting that award, the Girl Power Award for the highest ranking all girls school. So we have that going on. We also talk about TVET and bringing in these high level TVET institutions. And so we also have that process in our diversity. Then when we talk about the fact that we're going to every single school, so we're also telling people to solve problems in the way of use. And so we're talking about things of how are people going to be using this STEM or these things as far as individuals who are hard of hearing, individuals who struggle with sight and things of that nature. And so I think that the diversity is huge across the board, and we're consistently growing. Last year, we had 97 institutions. This year, we have 228 schools that have done 250 plus projects. Next year, we're looking for 500. What does that mean for context sakes? That means that out of the 900 or so secondary institutions in this country, by next year, we're going to have at least half of them engaged.
Let's talk about, so the 24 schools, what have the respective journeys been like? How did they get here? I mean, you mentioned the over 200 this time that came to the fore.
Okay. Last year, we had a Zoom presentation with the students. And then we had a lot of issues. They were saying their internet connectivity were bad and the rest. So this year, for instance, we zoned the country into 8. So we have zonal centers across the country. So we are done with the zoning. So we had our judges and then some of our team members going around the country to look at the project. Face-to-face, you look at it. We ask you your problem statement and how you arrived at the project. So this year was a face-to-face interaction with the students. Okay. So we are done with all.
No hiding anewhere.
No hiding anywhere.
Come and show your face.
Yes, show your face, defend the project, how you came about it. So we are done with the roadshow. So we are now at the grand finale.
Aaron?
Yeah, I feel like another piece of the journey that's a little bit intangible is getting out of the school. A lot of the young people are not getting out of their school. They're not taking excursions and things of that nature. So you're working with your team of 3 people. You're working with your coach. You're getting on the bus. You're having to fend for yourself in a sense of making sure this big giant project fits. So there's all of these skills that we use in our world of work, right? Even what you're talking about of having to come to work so early in the morning and fix your schedule, and no matter what, the show must go on. At 9 a.m., this show is going to come on. At 6 a.m., the other show is going to come on. In the same way, these young people had to get to their center, they had to present themselves. And then another piece of it is being able to do public speaking, high-level public speaking.
Confidence level.
Confidence level. Yeah. The minister talks a lot about we taming young Ghanaians and things of that nature. And my argument is this: let's not tell them how to behave. Let's put them in the right positions so that they can take the stand, so they can defend their work, so they can write well. So these are things that are happening in STEM innovation that are going through a journey, but they're also learning intangible skills that may not be measured on a BCE or a WASI, but can be measured through what they produce for the rest of their lives.
Mm. So let's talk about, eventually, all of this boils down to the 14th and the 15th.
Yes.
And we have a venue. What can we expect? What is the venue? And of course, it's on our screens. But I just want you to reiterate: what is the venue? What can we expect on D-Day? And also importantly, who can participate?
Okay, we already have the schools. We have it's 228 schools that presented the project. So
out of which you picked 24.
We picked 24.
So that's
each team.
Every
team we have 8 projects. Under urban gardening we have 8, clean water we have 8, and then flexible use of electricity we have 8 schools who are coming to compete for the grand finale. And then we have additional 6 schools, and we have other schools too who will come to exhibit their projects at the competition.
Okay.
It's happening live at University of Ghana, Legon City Conference Center from 14th to 15th of November. Okay. Next week, Tuesday and Wednesday. please, we entreat all of you to come and look at the project that the students that we are investing hugely into the free senior high school space have developed. It's mind-blowing projects, and it's a project that at the end of the day is solving an issue within our community.
Let me ask you a quick question though. Those in the past that have competed and won and placed and all of that, what have those solutions brought to bear?
All right. I told you RARA has already commercialized their projects. We have a lot of projects also sitting there. We are appealing to industry players, opinion leaders, that they should come from 14th and 15th, look at the project, the one that they think will help their industry, they adapt it, and at the end of the day, we help commercialize these projects.
And that's why you also have to come, because then you get to see, and then you know what pertains to your sector, your industry. But I was also asking about participants. Who can participate? Apart from the schools, I mean, can people, how are ordinary Ghanaians going to be able to participate? Other young people who may think, oh, I'm interested in this, I want to be there or something.
Yes, go ahead.
All right, so we have schools that we will invite, but it's an open event, so everybody can come, look at the project, and if you want to participate, link up to us and then we'll help you out.
Okay, is there a virtual connection?
Yeah, there will
where
be a
people
virtual
can
connection.
watch?
Yes. Yes. But we prefer coming there face to face to look at the project yourself.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll have the Facebook live feed. We'll have things on our Twitter and our Instagram, what they call it, our X feed, and on Instagram and things of that nature. And yes, we really want everyone to come in. It's a free to spectate event, and we are bringing in dignitaries from different ministries to come see this also. So we were trying to think about the two major facets of Ghanaian economy, right? And you have the public and the private sector. So we're talking about ministries like Nestle, we're talking about energy. We're inviting all those people to come in so they can see, so they can say, yes, this is really going to be productive for flexible use of electricity, right? As Ghana is coming into becoming a nuclear power in the next 2 to 3 years, we may be having nuclear reactors here in Ghana. We need to have individuals who can actually work on those things and who can have the innovative thinking for that kind of processing, right? And so we want them there. We also want our young people to interview with these people, to say hello, to check in, to work on those skills of how do I present myself to someone, the quote unquote elevator pitch and things of that nature. So where we're going to be really, really invested in having individuals come in so they can see, like you said, what is happening, have that feely touch of it and move forward.
All right. The final bit, I want you to be very brief on this. After all of this is said and done, what legacy is this going to leave in terms of STEM education in our country? I'll give you 30 seconds each, and it's a wrap. I'll start with you, Nana.
All right, sure. So the legacy we are leaving behind is that at the end of the day, we are bringing a competition that is solving a national problem. It's not just a competition that you come and rant and then you go, but we are touching lives, in short. We want students, when completed, we don't want them to be job hunting and the rest, but whatever they've learned in school, they are going to use their entrepreneurship skills and they are going to work with it. They wouldn't wait for government to give them job to do.
All right. Aaron?
I hope that this leads young men and women to have the confidence, the knowledge, the skills, and the values to be innovators for the rest of their lives, and then to touch other people in some capacity. And so it'll be a each one, teach one kind of thing, that this group of STEM innovators would be looked up to in the same way as we look up to our winners from National Science and Math Quiz. I'm an old boy from Pre-Sec, and we run around talking about how
you just had to mention that
all the time, Daddy.
I'm sure you planned it. That's part about coming out. I have to mention it.
I had 30 seconds, and now you're messing it up. Anyway, long and short, as an old boy from Pre-Sec, there's something I'm proud of, and to say that we won. I want the same feeling for those individuals. We won, and we can touch it. Not just the trophy, but the thing we created.
All right, so it's all about STEM Innovation 2023. You want to be a part of it. And of course, if you're in industry, you also ought to come on board and see how you can not just benefit from it, but maybe even support it moving forward. Those who joined us for this conversation, Nana Afra Sika Mensa, Deputy Coordinator, Free SHS, and of course, Odadie Aaron Chum Akwabwa, Director, Strategy and Innovation at the Ministry of Education. Well, stay with us. Up next, we have the WAMECA 2023. We have a conversation on the West Africa Media Excellence Awards. That up next on the AM Show. Do stay. Here we go again on the AM show. As we gear up to wrap up on the show, we have one interesting conversation. But before we get into that, let me tell you a bit about your favorite TV game show in Ghana. Step Up is back with another amazing season. Now, this time, we're stepping up with Syntax Tank. Step Up with Syntax Tank will see contestants answer trivia questions to win cash prizes of between 400 Ghana cedis and 6,000 Ghana cedis on a weekly basis, as well as other products from our sponsors. Now, this season, you watching at home should watch out for the Syntax Tank question of the week. Be the first to answer correctly via WhatsApp or SMS to the number 0508 338 888 and win incredible prizes from sponsors. Now, the person who answers most of the weekly questions the fastest gets a 65-inch Samsung television at the end of the season. So step up with Syntax Tank. It's a unique television experience. Step Up with Syntax Tank is sponsored by Bell Ice, MTN Momo, and Angel Cola. And now that we're talking about Syntax Tank, no matter your water needs, Syntax Tank has it all. Syntax Tank has been the first to introduce double-layer tanks, and now you can have as many layers as you want. Syntax Tank has been the first to introduce white inner layer tanks in Ghana, and now they're introducing to you the customer specifications order, which lets you order any color and any size of your preference. How many layers do you want? What color? What size? They've got you sorted out. Syntax Tank gives you the longest warranty of 7 years, which no other tank gives you in Ghana. So whatever your water consumption, size of project, or demand, choose Syntax Tank. We have agents nationwide. Now you just have to reach us on 0244 335 168 or shop online at syntaxgh.com. That is www.syntaxgh.com. Syntax Tank, are you strong? Are you tough? Well, I'll tell you about something else that's coming up. It's WAMECA 2023, the West Africa Media Excellence Awards. And joining us to give us a good idea of what to expect in the 2023 installment, we have Kweku Asante. He is Programs Officer at the Media Foundation for West Africa. Kweku, good morning.
Good morning, Ben. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. It's good to have you join the conversation. Here we are, WAMECA 2023 is here. Just give us a brief overview of what has happened in the past and what is going to happen this year in these awards.
Thank you very much, Ben, and my regards to your viewers. WAMECA this year is the 7th edition. Essentially, this is the 7th time we are hosting this event. We started somewhere in 2017. The whole idea of WAMECA, which is the West Africa Media Excellence Conference and Award, is to study the media and press freedom landscape in West Africa, which is changing year by year because of technology, because of digitization, because of our governance structures, our democratic system. And so we bring together experts, we bring together consultants who are well-versed, journalists, editors, to come together to discuss topical issues, new changes in the environment, and what solutions we can bring to resolve these problems, or to ensure that the media landscape or the press freedom landscape in West Africa is the best, or we get the best out of it. And so this year we are focusing on democracy and media and democracy. And essentially, the conference is admitting that there is a democratic recession in West Africa. In fact, across Africa, we find this democratic recession where three countries, in West Africa is currently under military rule. Military junta is ruling over it. I'm talking about Guinea, I'm talking about Burkina Faso, I'm talking about Mali. In fact, there have been a coup attempt in Guinea-Bissau that did not work. If you want to stretch it up to Africa, there is Gabon now, there is Sudan, and all those issues ongoing. This year, we want to bring together governance experts, democracy enthusiasts, journalists who have been working on the ground to say, what do we do in terms of using the media to address the issue of democratic recession? How do we stem the tide? How do we whip up democracy? You may want to know that for a long time across Africa, West Africa sub-region was the enclave that democracy was really championed. But today, what we are seeing is that we are rather rolling back, and whilst other countries in Africa are actually holding the fort for us. So that is the focus of the conference that we are going to have. And then we have the award. The award is, as we do always, honoring excellent and compelling journalism across West Africa, which over the years journalists from Multimedia and Joy have held the fourth and won West Africa Journalist of the Year. I must even say we have 17 finalists for this year, and 2 of those journalists are coming from Multimedia. I'm talking about the Rascal Fasari, I'm talking about Emmanuel Debra, all from Multimedia, Kumasi, and some other journalists from Ghana, from Burkina Faso, from Cape Verde, and from Nigeria. And so we are holding a 2-day conference, which is tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday at the World Trade Center, just behind the British Council. And then on Saturday at 7 p.m., we hold the award event where we will crown excellent journalism and celebrate journalism that is making impact in Africa.
Well, interesting dynamics. We thank the Media Foundation for West Africa and, of course, WAMECA for these bits. Are there any final words? Any people helping to bring us this occasion that you would like to acknowledge right before you take leave of us?
Yes, we have a number of people who are making this possible. I'm talking about MTN, which is helping us doing this work. I'm talking about Stanbic Bank Ghana, which is also on board. I'm talking about the U.S. Embassy, Wademos. Wademos is West African Democracy Solidarity Commission. That is also nothing that we are doing. And a host of other organizations, including Oxfam Ghana, who are making this possible for us this year. And so we want to call on everybody who's an enthusiast of democracy, an enthusiast of media freedom, press freedom, an enthusiast of journalism and excellent journalism to come on board, help us celebrate excellent journalism and help us celebrate democracy and see how we can build a lasting and a more sustainable democracy in West Africa.
Kweku, we're grateful for your time. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. And of course, we wish you the very best at WAMECA 2023. That's Kweku Krobi-Asante, his programs officer with the Media Foundation for West Africa. And of course, they are in the thick of things as far as organizing the West Africa Media Excellence Awards. Right before we go, let's celebrate a few people. We celebrate you if you're celebrating your birthday today. If you're celebrating some special anniversary, well, we join in your joy. We also want to celebrate Abigail Osei Boateng Owusua. Abigail Osei Boateng Owusua. Today happens to be your birthday. May God bless your new age and grant your heart's desires. Continue to be a great soul, and that's from Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. We hope you've enjoyed the show today. As always, I would say if you want to contribute, you want to share your thoughts, the live stream and all of that, just season your words and ensure that you are approaching the conversation on an intellectual level. Foot soldiers contributing on the show, you will not get your messages read. Let's put aside political slants, our political lenses, and focus on Ghana. That's the way forward. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. Thank you for allowing me to come into your home and onto your gadgets this morning. We'll do this again same time tomorrow if God gives us life. But up next, we have Aisha Ibrahim with Joy News Desk.